Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. This is the story about What If Naruto Was Immortal, Naruto X Bleach Part 3. Before I start the video, please subscribe the channel for more fanfiction video and please share this video with your friends. This story was written by Kenshi 618. With any more interruption, let's start the video. 5 hours before the execution. The day of Rukia's execution had come too fast for any of the would-be rescuers' liking. Naruto was worried about the whereabouts of Orihime, Uryu, and Chad, but Yoruichi told him to stay with them until the actual time of attack on the Tsukioku. This wasn't his mission and he had no true personal stake in it, so he followed Yoruichi's orders, trusting her to know the right thing to do in this instance. After all, she had commissioned him to work on this with her, not the other way around. Renji walked over to Yoruichi and Naruto, who were both still watching Ichigo train with Zangetsu, still doggedly trying to find the appropriate sword for his Bankai. So do you think that he can really pull it off and obtain his Bankai, because we're out of time here? On the battlefield of the training ground, Ichigo was knocked aside by his Zanpakuto spirit Zangetsu once more. Just because you're growing weaker doesn't mean I'm going to make the training any easier on you. This is all up to you, Ichigo. Multiple Zangetsus stood all around Ichigo holding swords. One more time now. Ichigo smirked and growled before grabbing another sword from the ground and charging right back into the fray. Stop yapping already, old man. I'm not going to give you an excuse to go easier on me. Yoruichi pondered the answer, never taking her eyes off of Ichigo. Ichigo needs to realize deep down that he has the ability to possess great power. However difficult it seems, I believe in him. I know he can master his Bankai. She stood in silence for a moment before speaking again. Do you remember learning to walk? Renji looked taken back for a moment by the question. What? How could I possibly remember something like that? If you don't consciously remember, then you don't consciously know how to do it. Yoruichi's words continued to confuse Renji. If so, how are you able to still walk? It's because every person knows how to walk after they are born. Just like birds know how to fly. Just like fish know how to swim, it's simple instinct. Because they instinctively know their strength, they won't think twice before trying to acquire that strength when the time comes. She continued to speak as Ichigo fought it out with the multiple forms of Zangetsu. Seeing Ichigo's determined face reminds me of instinct. I think he knows deep down that he can do this. I believe in my heart that he was born with the ability to achieve Bankai. Renji stood in silence as the sounds of Ichigo's struggle continued before he finally turned to leave. Well, in that case, I'm off. Naruto turned to Renji with a thoughtful look on his face. Why are you leaving now? Why not just wait a little while and leave with us? It's got to give you a better chance. Bankai are not, from what I've seen, these captains are no joke. Renji let out a laugh. This one's personal, Uzumaki. It's a goal of mine to defeat my captain. I don't see a better opportunity to take my chance than now, especially when I have a true reason to fight him. Want some help? Naruto asked him with a helpful smile. Yoruichi can watch Wonder Boy and I can go with you to keep riffraff away, maybe even help you fight the guy. It's Byakuya, isn't it? Renji shook his head. No, this is something I have to do alone. I'll catch up with the rest of you by the time you're done here. Good luck. Naruto said honestly. Over the day that Renji had been there, he had seen and heard that he truly cared for Rukia. He couldn't help but want to go with him. All of the anticipation for the inevitable conflict that was to take place was making him antsy. He hadn't felt this ready for a fight in so long, he had almost forgotten what it felt like. As Yoruichi kept her gaze set firmly on Naruto, said Blonde stood up and began walking to a secluded section of the facility. You can stay with Ichigo. I'm going to go prepare for the battle. Come get me when it's time to leave, Yoruichi-chan. XXX. 11th Division Headquarters. Two Shinigami were busy sweeping the streets of the HQ. However, one held his head as he was nursing a hangover from the previous night. I drank too much last night, damn it. The second Shinigami off to the side scoffed. It's not just that, dumbass. You smoke too much too. Otherwise you wouldn't be drowsy. Meh, shut up. The first one replied to his partner for the day. Stop mouthing off to me just because you lost in that spar yesterday, or I'll just beat the shit out of you again. The other Shinigami threw his broom to the ground and put his hand on his Zanpakuto. What? Draw your sword. I'll polish you off before I get to work cleaning the street. Huh? The first Shinigami said, grabbing his own Zanpakuto. Polish? That sounds so lame, you loser. Prepare to get your ass kicked. The two then stopped as a sound of furious charging started getting closer. Oi, what's that sound? At that point, Zaraki Kenpachi flew around the corner and ran past them full speed, getting the two to freak out and get back to work quickly. Madarei Makaku, a bald Shinigami, soon followed, running past them as well. Idiots. You need to lay low when you're slacking off. Akaku's partner, a rather effeminate man with purple jaw-length hair and feathers on his eyebrow, ran past them next. Leave one speck of dirt and I'll kill you both. The two watched their superiors follow Kenpachi and scratched their heads. What the hell is going on? And I think I saw two people on the captain's back. Kenpachi kept running, navigating the maze of the Seirei. And now which way do we go, woman? He asked. Orihime appeared over one of his shoulders. It's probably. She was cut off by a small girl with pink hair headbutting her in the head out of the way. It's this way, she said, pointing in a random direction. Ken-chan thinks we should go this way too, right? Akaku decided to speak up. I think it's best if we leave it to Orihime to decide. Yachiru Fukutaichu has a helplessly bad sense of direction. Yachiru spit a loogie on Akaku's head. Shut up, marble head. Yumachika tried calming Akaku down before he attempted to throttle the little girl, leaving Kenpachi with no answer on where to go. Never mind, what a nuisance. I'll decide myself on where to find Kurosaki. XXX. Inside of a jail cell sat Uryu, a heavily bandaged Ganju, and Chad. A butterfly suddenly drifted into the cell, catching Uryu's attention. Oh look, a butterfly. So cute. Is it spring in Soul Society? He wondered, in his own world at the moment. Ganju narrowed his eyes at Uryu through his bandages while Chad simply watched with a sweat drop, mumbling to yourself about butterflies. So hopeless. He let out a sigh and spoke in his normal tone. If you want to, you can chase it around too, Uryu. I won't tell anyone about this. Uryu stopped paying attention to the butterfly and started sputtering. Don't try to trick me. I'm not going to chase a butterfly. Don't call me by my first name either. I don't think we're that close yet. Ganju snapped back at him. What? I don't think we're that close either. Chad simply sat patiently while the two started arguing. It was obviously because they were bored. There was nothing they could do in their cells anyway, with all of the Sekiseki abundant, keeping them from using their powers. However, Chad suddenly hushed them. Do you hear a ruckus somewhere? Uryu stopped and listened. Actually, now that you mention it, does it sound like it's coming closer? Wait, no, did it stop? All of a sudden the ceiling in the middle of the room burst open, covering the room in smoke. However, it quickly dispersed to let Ganju see a few faces he was rather familiar with. You're, holy shit, it's Zaraki Kenpachi, the 11th Division captain, and the bald guy that fought Ichigo. And that self-absorbed guy with the sissy hairstyle. Yumachika looked at him with a tick mark on his head. I'm sorry, but do I know you? I tend to forget about people who are ugly. Orihime suddenly popped out from behind Kenpachi's shoulder. Ishida-kun. Ganju-kun. Sato-kun. I'm so glad you're all safe. All of the others looked at her in shock at seeing her there with a group of Shinigami. Inoue-san. Uryu said. What exactly is going on here? XXX. Kuchiki Family Manor. Byakuya-sama, it is almost time to head to the Tsukyoku. Byakuya quickly replied, I see. He was looking intently at a picture of a woman that looked much like Rukia. I'm going Hisana. XXX. 2nd Division Headquarters. Omeda marched through the halls stuffing his face with a bag of chips. This is so stupid. First these Ryoka all attack and now everyone's arguing whether or not this execution is legit. The decision's already been made. What's there to talk about? Don't you think so, Captain? He asked to Soifan, who was walking beside him. What a lame thing to wonder about, she said to her lieutenant. I couldn't care less if it were right or wrong. All I care about are executing my orders as a captain of the Gotei 13. All who get in my way are enemies. She thought firmly to the battle she had just waged with a certain intruder of the Seirei a few days earlier. All enemies must be slain. That is all that matters. Omeda stopped eating and decided to comment, "Are you talking about that guy that got away from you before? That Uzumaki guy? Well, he did make the Seirei Communication Monthly magazine actually readable for the first time in like ever. Maybe I should get them to do the same thing for me. I'm nobility after all. I should be way more interesting than that commoner." "Everything I said goes for you too, Omeda," Soifan said coldly as she turned to look at him. "Don't forget where your loyalties lie. If you get in my way, you too will be my enemy." Omeda wiped the crumbs from his face along with the sweat that had formed from the intent that Soifan had focused on him. "Hey, I'll remember that, Captain." Soifan continued walking from her division's HQ to Tsukyoku Hill, the site of the execution of one Kuchiki Rukia, a place she assumed she would find one maddeningly skilled blonde and use that opportunity to finish him off for good. "I will destroy you, Uzumaki Naruto. Talented Ryoka or not, you are still an enemy to the Seirei, and I will not betray my superiors like my former mistress. If you show your face at this execution, you and anyone else with you will die." XXX 8th Division Headquarters. A Shinigami captain with long brown hair tied in a ponytail, a pink flowered kimono over his other gear, and a straw hat lay on the roof of his HQ looking up at the sky, chewing on a blade of grass. He had thin facial hair around his mouth and on his cheeks as if he missed a shave or two recently. A woman appeared over the side of the building standing on a ladder. She had black hair that she kept pinned back and glasses that adorned her rather beautiful face. "Ah, Captain, there you are. Please get up and get ready to go, it's almost time." "Nanao-chan," the captain whined before speaking normally, "I have a few problems that I'm not sure what to do about. Care to hear about them?" Nanao frowned but climbed the rest of the way onto the roof and sat down next to her captain. "What is it, Shunsui Taiko?" she asked him. "Well," he said with a sigh as he began to explain, "the truth is, I was distressed and I tried to relax by chewing on this blade of grass, but I don't know if it's poisonous or not. My mouth got numb and I'm dumbfounded." Nanao immediately ripped the offending piece of flora from his mouth, then threw it away. She stood up and began walking back towards the edge of the roof. "Nanao-chan," he said more seriously than before, what should I do?" She turned around, rather uncomfortable about what to do. "Why are you asking me? No matter what I say on the matter, you're still going to end up doing whatever you feel like in the end." She adjusted her glasses when he looked at her, listening intently on what she was saying. "Don't worry about me. I will follow you at a safe distance so that I won't get dragged into anything." He let out a small laugh. "That's bad then, because once again I'll be the only one getting scolded by Yama Jii. XXX. Tsukyoku Hill Hideout. Naruto sat meditating with two clones. In this state he found that he was able to bond himself with the reishi that comprised the Soul Society so much easier than he could from the energy on Earth, and it utterly fascinated him and left him excited. The energy comprising the entire plane of existence in its entirety was Naruto's and Naruto's to use and draw upon freely. Due to his bond with the environment of the Soul Society, he was able to easily sense the battles carrying on throughout the area. There must be more people than just Renji who think that this execution is wrong. He was able to locate Chad, Uryu, Orihime, and Ganju and was relieved to find their life force strong and well. However, something had changed with Uryu, something he couldn't properly sense at the moment. He frowned when he felt Renji's Riryoku fade from his senses, but when he felt it slowly stabilize and begin growing again, he settled down and made to stand up when the air around him was filled with an intense but familiar Ryotsu that brought a huge grin to his face and stirred him from his own personal preparations. "All right. You guys know what to do. Stay here and keep focusing and we'll be fine. We'll get through this. I'll call you when I need you." Walking away from his own section of the Seirei, he saw Yoruichi looking towards the cliffside entrance of the hideout with a grin on her face. Obviously Wonder Boy was able to pull it off. "Where's he at now?" Yoruichi turned to Naruto and began walking towards the hidden entrance. I lent him a little something so that he could get to the scene of the execution faster. Are you ready to go? Naruto started cracking his knuckles with a serious look on his usually carefree whisker-marked face. I've been ready for 3 days. Let's go kick some Shinigami ass already. Do we have a plan? Nope. Yoruichi chirped cheerfully as they started walking towards the exit. So we have 3 captains already fighting each other for some reason. Our little group is still alive and well, but they're nowhere near here, and technically it's just you, me, and Ichigo against the remaining captains, he said, tightening his bandana with his old village insignia on it around his neck. Those sound like my kind of odds. Yoruichi's grin grew at hearing that as she chimed in with some more facts that he had neglected to leave off of the rundown. Let's take into account that we don't even have a concrete plan of getting out of here once we get Rukia. Naruto pointed at her in acknowledgement of her analysis, getting her to giggle. Come on. What happened to all of that swagger and bravado you walked into all of this with? It hasn't gone anywhere. He defended. I'd just like to save my gloating for after I win and we all get out of this in one piece. Both of them then felt the Ryotsu from the Tsukyoku. Alright. Let's go start some trouble. Yoruichi opened the door and both of them took off with their respective speed techniques. XXX. Tsukyoku execution site. In front of a large halberd stood Captain Commander Yamamoto, who was facing Rukia. Alright. As you have requested, by tomorrow morning the Ryoka that have infiltrated the Seirei will be sent back safely. Rukia smiled at him gratefully. Really? Thank you, Yamamoto Sutaicho. Unohana Retsu's Lieutenant Katetsu Izan, a tall young woman with short gray spiky hair, of it braided on the side, frowned at what she was seeing before Rukia's execution. How cruel. He says that even though he doesn't plan on letting any of them live. Unohana shook her head in the negative. That is not cruelty, Izan, that is kindness. Since her end is unavoidable, at the very least this will let her pass away peacefully. A group of masked Shinigami made their way to the execution platform around the Tsukyoku, prompting Yamamoto to begin the execution. Release the seal of the Tsukyoku. Ropes that were holding the giant halberd in place began loosening and snapping as a mighty flame sparked a blaze and engulfed the weapon in the shape of a phoenix. Rukia was elevated off of the ground and held in the air by support beams. Kakoo. This is the true form of the spearhead of the Tsukyoku and the executioner of the grand penalty. After it pierces a criminal's body, the penalty will end. Rukia stared down the terrifying weapon with an unwavering look. I'm not scared. I'm completely content with my life. From meeting Renji and the others, to being adopted by Byakuya Onisama, Kai and Dono's guidance, and Ichigo's attempted rescue. No pain, no regrets, no sadness. There is nothing for my heart to linger in this world for. Thank you all and goodbye, she thought as tears started coming down her face. However, before the execution weapon got close, Ichigo appeared in front of Rukia, heavily bandaged and wearing a cape of sorts. Yo! Ichigo was holding back the force of the weapon with nothing more than his Zanpakuto. Rukia looked at him in disbelief as the phoenix was held in place by Ichigo, who didn't seem to be straining at all. Ichigo, you idiot! Why did you come again? Ichigo looked at her, utterly shocked that she was angry that he had come back. You know you can't win against my brother. You'll really get killed this time. I've already made peace with this, so I don't need you to rescue me. Go back. Soi Fan looked up at Ichigo and Rukia from her spot safely away from the Tsukyoku in surprise. The destructive force equivalent to 1 million Zanpakutos combined. He stopped it using nothing more than his lone blade. Who is that man? The phoenix drew away from Ichigo for another go-around, making space for a second attack. Come on then, he said, ignoring Rukia's cries to get him to stop. Before the two could clash again, something wrapped around the neck of the phoenix, attracting attention to the newly arrived Yukitake alongside 2 of his underlings. Shunsui immediately leapt to his side to assist him. Yo, handsome. You sure do like making people wait for you, don't you? Yamamoto looked at his 2 captains moving to stop the Tsukyoku in utter astonishment. Yukitake apologized to his fellow captain. Sorry. Breaking the seal took longer than expected, but we can still handle this just fine. While the main execution weapon was being handled, Ichigo stabbed his sword into the platform that was holding Rukia suspended, breaking it in half. Stop telling me to run away, it's annoying. I told you I don't care what you say, he said as he held Rukia securely under his arm. This is the second time I've had to save you, Rukia. I'm not thanking you for this, you idiot, she said, trying to hold back her tears. Ichigo smirked as he looked down at Byakuya. That's fine. Rukia looked down and felt like a burden towards the whole situation. Let me ask you something. What do you plan to do from here? There's no way we can get out of this mess safely. We run, Ichigo said simply. Rukia looked up at him with a fearful expression. That's not possible, we're surrounded by captains. We can't run past them. Ichigo looked away from her in annoyance. Then we'll beat them up before we run. What do you want from me? His face took on a look of determination. I'm not just here for you though. Inoue, Ishida, and Chad all came. Ganju and Hanataro too. Everyone that helped me get this far. I'm getting them all out of here too. Looking down, they saw that someone had beaten up all of the executioners that had set off the Tsukyoku. Renji. He looked up and grinned when he saw Rukia safe and sound. I'm so glad you're alive, Renji, she said to herself when she found herself hoisted above Ichigo's head by her waist. Ichigo, what are you doing? As he saw Ichigo wind up, Renji couldn't believe what he was about to see. Oh no way, you've got to be kidding me. Catch. Ichigo threw Rukia directly at Renji all the way down from where they had been beforehand, forcing Rukia to land firmly right in his stomach like a dart and send him flying back across the ground. The two got up and started yelling at Ichigo before he cut them off. Don't just stand there. Take her out of here. That's your job, Renji. Don't let go of her even if it kills you. Renji nodded and immediately did as instructed, fleeing the site with Rukia in his grasp quickly. As the multiple lieutenants stood watching what happened in disbelief, Soifan got them all into action. Why are you standing there like an idiot? She yelled at Omeda. Go after them. That goes for you other lieutenants as well. They all set out to chase after Renji when Ichigo landed from his position on the execution platform in front of them. They immediately made to release the Shikai of their Zanpakuto, but before anyone could register an attack, Ichigo had punched straight through Omeda's, breaking it with one hit and taking him out of the fight. He curved around and hit the second one with an uppercut, swiftly dispatching him from the fight as well. Aizen watched how Ichigo had broken the two lieutenants with the slightest of efforts. Unbelievable, and he hasn't even used his Zanpakuto yet. Ichigo blurred from her sight, alerting her to danger. However, he swiftly knocked her unconscious as well. After disposing of the three lieutenants, Ichigo pulled Zangetsu up to block a sneak attack from Byakuya, bringing a feral smirk to his face. I told you already, I can see your every move, Kuchiki Byakuya. Why? Byakuya asked as the two clashed blades. Why do you so persistently try to save Rukia? Ichigo pushed back harshly with an angry look on his face. I'm the one who should be asking questions. Aren't you Rukia's older brother? Why aren't you trying to help her at all? Byakuya simply brushed the question off. What a pointless question. Even if I tell you the answer to that question, you wouldn't be able to understand. Continuing this empty dialogue is useless. The two pushed against one another before springing away. It looks like there is only one way to end this. Kurosaki Ichigo, I will kill you, and then I will carry out Rukia's execution with my own hands. Ichigo narrowed his eyes. That's not going to happen. I came here to make sure of that. The two rushed at each other and clashed blades again. Nei-san. One of Yukitaki's assisting underlings, the female, Kion, ran over to her sister, Hana's lieutenant, who had been knocked out by Ichigo. Wait, Kion. Yukitaki's other underling Sentaro yelled out to her as she ran over to where Ichigo and Byakuya were fighting. Kuchiki Taiko is fighting there. You'll get dragged in if you get close. Before he could reach her to stop her, he felt himself get knocked out of the way harshly by Soifan, who appeared behind Kion with a look that completely lacked humor or mercy. Yukitaki immediately moved to defend her. Soifan stopped. Before he could go, he found Yamamoto standing in front of him. Don't move. The old grizzled leader said to the two captains. The person who ran off with the criminal was a lieutenant. He can be slain and easily replaced, that matter can wait. However, I cannot forgive you for what you two have done. You are captains and yet you've done the unthinkable. You both must know yourselves of the crimes you've committed. Shisui grabbed Yukitake from behind and grinned at Yamamoto. I see it can't be helped then. Let's get the hell out of here, Yukitake. He held onto his friend and jumped from the side of the hill, leaving the old man behind. Wait, Shunsui, he said frantically, my people are still back there. Calm down. The mellow captain said to assuage his fears, if you stay there and fight with Yamajai, we'll both be killed. Your people will be fine. Don't you sense the two other people still back there? They're on our side. XXX Soifan stomped on Kion's chest and looked down at her coldly. Scum. You betrayed the honor bestowed upon you as seated officers and you betrayed us. Don't worry, however, I will not prolong your shameful existence. I will purge the world of your stench right now. Era, come on now, my little bee. That isn't very nice. Soifan's head whipped around to see Naruto standing on a nearby rock formation with his arms crossed and a grave expression on his face. Miss me? He looked down at his chest. Obviously you have, because I still have your little love mark on me. I missed you too, beautiful. He gestured towards himself. Why don't you come on over here and we can catch up? Uzumaki. Soifan growled out, forgetting about Kion instead to glare out at him. I thought you were a better tactical warrior than that. You could have taken that opening to attack me. Instead you're giving me the opportunity to finish what I started. Maybe. Naruto said admittedly, but there are two problems with that. 1. I have to let you release your Zanpakuto for you to try it. 2. I'm not the one you should be worried about. I'm just a decoy. Before Soifan could attack him or question him, a blur flew at her and swept her off her feet before taking her over the edge of the cliff, leaving Naruto to himself, and that takes care of that problem. Go Yoruichi-chan. He sensed a presence coming his way, but instead of turning to fight he let it walk right past him towards all of the wounded. Hana didn't look back at Naruto as she drew her Zanpakuto. You didn't attack me. Naruto shook his head. There was no need. You had the drop on me and didn't attack me. I'm not here to fight anyone, just to help some people right a wrong. He gave her a small smile. Besides, I was never one for trying to hurt women for no reason. Hurting a beautiful woman like you would make me feel bad. He then looked down at his chest and smiled at Soifan's mark having vanished. Well, Yoruichi-chan must be a bigger priority over yours truly. Hana gave a slight laugh. I'm going to remove the wounded from the area. This area will need to be clear for what's about to happen. Naruto gave her a questioning look. Are Ichigo and Byakuya going to tear the place up that much? Her Zanpakuto transformed into a green, gas-like substance before turning into a giant green one-eyed manta ray. Hana hopped on board the creature and allowed it to swallow up all of the wounded from both Ichigo and Soifan's attacks. Not so much them, she said cautiously. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Well then who? He let out a sweat drop as he felt an obviously intently intense Ryotsu from quite a ways behind him. Whoever that is. They're coming this way, aren't they? Unfortunately for you, yes. Minazuki, go. She ordered before taking off with her Zanpakuto. I do not think you are a bad person, Uzumaki-san. I would wish you luck, but that would go against my position. By the way, I am Hana Retsu. Naruto gave her a small salute. Nice to meet you, Retsu-chan. Now I have to go fight for my life, he said, disappearing in a blur towards where he felt the Ryotsu from. XXX Naruto reappeared in front of Yamamoto, who was still holding himself up with his cane. So is there any chance of you just letting us get away with Rukia? You can't honestly say that giving a kid the power to save his family is worth getting executed over. That's so stupid. It came down from the Central 46 Council that have their power given to them by the Spirit King. Yamamoto said resolutely to the intruder on his lands, once a decision is made it cannot be overturned. He narrowed his eyes at Naruto. You've been running around stirring up quite a panic, haven't you? Naruto settled himself into a fighting stance, and let me guess. You're going to put a stop to it, aren't you? Well, come and try it, Yamamoto Gigi. I'm not going to be so easy to put down. Yamamoto let out a rather hearty laugh. It isn't very often that I have to chase after little nuisances myself. So come, little one. He noticed the look in Naruto's eyes and had to take back that previous statement. Actually no, not so little. You have the eyes of a warrior more hardened in battle than all but around 2 of my captains. He lifted his cane as it transformed into his Zanpakuto. I think that for the first time in a long time I will have to work for a victory. Draw your blade. Naruto stood up out of his taijutsu stance. My blade? He quickly swung his arm out to the side as a rather long-bladed rod appeared from his sleeve. I'm not much for blade-on-blade work, but I don't think a kunai would really be enough to do the job this time. He looked at the weapon in his sleeve. I don't really think this thing is going to hold up against yours, but we'll never know until we fight, will we? Naruto stared Yamamoto down, neither moving until the old man drew his sword, forcing Naruto to take that time to launch at him in a preemptive strike. Let's not dally, Yamamoto Gigi. I can't even try to mess around with you. I have to come at you with full intent to maim right off the bat or you'll probably pick me apart. Rinnegan. Samsara Eye. Naruto's eyes changed from blue to the ripple pattern synonymous with the famed optic orbs. He clashed weapons with Yamamoto. I'm pleased that you would take me so seriously as to utilize such a powerful tool so soon. Soi Fan has informed of your capabilities with this technique. Hey, she doesn't really know anything about it. I only used 2 attacks of the Rinnegan on her. One won't work on you since you already are a soul more or less, but the others are good enough. Naruto said, pushing back. I knew this old guy wasn't as frail as that hunched appearance made him look. Deceptive. Naruto held strong against Yamamoto. Is fighting really the only way we can solve this? I don't have anything against you. Silence, boy. Yamamoto said as he continued the struggle against Naruto. One such as you should know that there is no mercy for one that obstructs justice. Your eyes tell me of years that far exceed your appearance. Your justice isn't my justice. Naruto growled to him as the two pushed off of one another and stood at a standoff. Yamamoto shook his head. Don't speak nonsense. There is no sense of individual justice that can override global justice. Naruto narrowed his eyes at Yamamoto and angrily swung the blade in his hand. My ass, there is no such thing as complete justice, even from those in control. Wrongs are committed by everyone, no matter who they are or what they try to do. One man's justice is another's injustice. Arrogant. How arrogant. It is too late for a verbal debate, Yamamoto said as he disposed of his captain's Haori and Shinigami top, revealing a heavily scarred and muscled frame underneath. I will grace you with the Shikai of my Zanpakuto. For one dangerous enough to come out of battle with one of my captains and still be able to fight mere days later, it seems appropriate. Fuck that. Naruto said, blurring from sight to keep Yamamoto from using his Shikai. Naruto slashed at him with his blade that Yamamoto blocked. If you think I'm just going to sit there and let you release that thing without trying to stop it, you must be as senile as you look. No honor? Yamamoto questioned at Naruto disdainfully. Naruto smirked ruefully. You can have all the honor you want, I'd rather win. A clone seamlessly formed behind Yamamoto and launched a kick to the head that the old man blocked with his free arm. However, this left an opening that Naruto used to kick Yamamoto hard in the body, getting the old man to glare and cringe at the attack before the clone ricocheted a punch off of his face. The combined attack concluded with Naruto delivering a spin kick to the face that knocked Yamamoto away. Yamamoto stopped himself from stumbling any further and took aim at Naruto and his clone. Tricky. But how about this? Hedo number 32. Ukasan. Way of Destruction number 32. Yellow Fire Flash. Yamamoto held up his sword in front of him horizontally and generated a yellow orb of energy that expanded as it fired in a wide arc at Naruto and his clone. Naruto jumped over it. His clone, however, was unable to as it met its swift end. As he hung in the air from his jump, he cursed for overjumping, as Yamamoto took this time to begin unsealing his Zanpakuto, Banshu Ize Kaijin 2. Raiden. Gyakukyokusei no Jutsu, Lightning Release, Reverse Polarity. A transparent ball of electricity hit Yamamoto's Zanpakuto from Naruto's hand and interrupted his Shikai command. The jutsu threw him back along the ground and the old man quickly retook his feet to see that Naruto had landed and blurred toward him. Yamamoto simply blocked Naruto's blade after he reappeared from his use of swift release. A slash from the man broke Naruto's blade, disrupting Naruto's balance and throwing him backwards. Naruto threw the broken rod at Yamamoto, who moved his head and dodged it. Fuck, if only I had time to go to my lockup and get a sword before coming here to the Soul Society. Kabikuribachu would have been invaluable right now. Bakudu number 4. Heinawa. Way of binding number 4. Crawling rope. Yamamoto generated a crackling rope of yellow energy in his hands and released it at Naruto. He was caught off guard by the speedy incantation and wound up with his arms and body bound by the rope. Naruto grimaced and started gathering power to break the rather weak Kido. You think this can hold me? I can still run away until I can break it? I'm sure that you can. Yamamoto admitted, but it wasn't meant to defeat you, it was meant to keep you at bay for a moment. He held up his Zanpakuto, getting Naruto to widen his eyes at realizing what he was going to do. Naruto ran at him and tried throwing kicks at the old man, but without his hands to perform any kind of supplementary ninjutsu, not even a substitution, Yamamoto was able to knock him away with an undefended knee to the body. Banshu Ize Kaijin Tenace. Ryujin Jaka. Reduce all creation to ash, flowing blade like flame. Naruto's swift release saved him from being instantly incinerated by Yamamoto's Shikai as flames immediately leapt from the blade and engulfed the immediate area in a firestorm of sorts with flames so intense the sky even felt the effects of the heat, and there isn't even a drop of water for miles. Naruto muttered to himself as the flames surrounding Yamamoto whipped about wildly. Naruto slapped himself several times and shrugged his shoulders. Fine. Bring it on, Yamamoto Gigi. The old warrior began walking through his own flames towards Naruto. Is that it? No matter how powerful you are, you won't be able to defeat my Shikai with that amount of power. What Soifan had to report about your attacks shows that the skills you showed her won't be enough to defeat me. Naruto had his head down as the sweat from the heat of the attack started forming on his forehead. The binding ropes then broke from Naruto's frame, allowing him to take his jacket off and throw it to the side. His little weapons wouldn't do any good here. The element of surprise was gone. You're going to find out the hard way that giving me chances is the last thing that you want to do. Naruto looked up at Yamamoto with his toad-like eyes with yellow irises and horizontal bar-like pupils to go with his Rinnegan. An orange pigment marked the outside of his eyes, because the first opening you give me could be your last. Captain Commander or not. Yamamoto looked at Naruto in interest as his Riryoku skyrocketed and he blasted the area in a stream of Ryotsu intense enough to begin blowing the flames away from him with a powerful wind that cut through the fire. You're strong enough to resist my Shikai's release without being turned to ashes. This battle will be worthwhile after all. What are you? Naruto rolled his unique-looking eyes amid the clash of powerful spiritual energies. I've told you people again and again. Word should have spread. I'm a sage. If I end up kicking your ass, will you finally get the point and remember? XXX. Having expected Yamamoto to follow them away from the cliff, Shunsui and Yukitake were surprised when the release of their overall leader's Zanpakuto filled the sky and atmosphere. Oh man. Shunsui muttered. Poor Ryoka. Yamajai is going to burn that guy alive. He sighed. You know we've got to go back and bail him out, right? He said to Yukitake. It would be the right thing to do, you're right. Yukitake said, maybe between the three of us simultaneously we can. He was cut off when a power that he could swear came close to matching the brute force of Ryujin Jaka erupted from the same place, forcing him into a coughing fit. Whoever is fighting Yamamoto-sama is powerful. He could be just as strong as both me and Shunsui when we release our Shikai simultaneously. Shunsui let out an impressed laugh. Well, shall we go back up our new part-time comrade, whomever he may be? The laid-back captain took off towards the site of the battle. XXX. Yoruichi versus Soifan. The two clashed repeatedly atop the trees amid a flurry of disciplined punches and kicks before breaking off and staring one another down. Soifan. Clothing at the time was her operational outfit. It had no sleeves and did not cover her back, It also had a slit in the outside of both thighs to her waist where it was tied by a yellow obi, leaving that part visible underneath. Above her long black armbands that extended past the elbow, she had a rather nasty bruise on her shoulder from the current fighting. One hit. You got me once. It looks like that last exchange ended in a draw, Yoruichi. Apparently. Yoruichi said as she wiped some blood from her lip. That outfit of yours. What kind of tricks does it do? It seems to prevent me from seeing your movements. Tricks? Soifan repeated with an amused smirk. She suddenly blurred out of sight and reappeared behind Yoruichi with her zanpakuto drawn into her neck. Is that really what you think? Jinteki Shikusetsu. Suzumaki. Sting all enemies to death. Hornet. Her shikai activated as she held her bladed gauntlet at Yoruichi's neck. Yoruichi tried to rapidly escape Soifan's grasp with Shunpo, but Soifan matched her and landed an attack that cut her across the front before she was able to get away at a safe distance from her former underling. Soifan watched Yoruichi land on a tree branch, crouched and holding her torso. Why don't you just admit that I'm stronger than you? Does it not occur to you that I'm holding back? You're probably saying, there's no way she would do that. Is that what you're thinking? I already told you not to be so full of yourself. I have long since become stronger than you. She glared right at Yoruichi, and now with your death I will make you pay the price of staying away from battle for 100 years. A smirk returned to her face. You remember Suzumbaki's special ability, don't you? I already got you once. Over the area of Yoruichi's wound formed the same butterfly mark that was left on Naruto during his fight with Soifan. Fuck. Well, at least it's probably off of Naruto by now. He'd better thank me for this. I should have made him fight her again just to be mean. She then felt the Ryotsu coming off of Yamamoto's shikai from the spot she left Naruto. Actually, never mind. I think it would have been nicer of me to make him fight Soifan. Here's the second hit, Yoruichi. While Yoruichi had thought about Naruto fighting Yamamoto, in the split second she did so, it gave Soifan an opening to use Shunpo and get behind her for another attack. The attack missed the intended mark, however, and allowed Yoruichi to begin fleeing the area from her dogged opponent. You turned your back to focus on escaping, and yet look at yourself. In Yoruichi's evasive action, she managed to get slashed on the arm in addition to the one on her torso, giving Soifan 2 spots to target instead of 1. Soifan laughed at Yoruichi's strategy. Running is useless. My old limit was 30 minutes, now it's as long as my will to hold the seal stays. I know that. The one you had on Naruto lasted at least 3 days. Yoruichi thought to herself, I'm not really running either. She came to a sudden stop and swung her leg out at Soifan, launching a knife at her from her boot. Soifan's gauntlet easily blocked it, but Yoruichi used it as an opportunity to drop an axe kick. However, Soifan countered it with a rising kick of her own that got the two tangled. They disengaged before hitting the ground, but the close-range scuffle left Yoruichi with a cut on her cheek that quickly formed into another of Soifan's seals. Soifan smirked at having Yoruichi on the ropes so thoroughly. If you finally understand that I'm the stronger of us, I'll do the honors of ending this. Intense pressurized Riryoku that wasn't quite visible, yet still had effect on the environment, flew off of her from Soifan's back, surprising Yoruichi at the sight of it. This must be your first time seeing something like this. This is a technique that combines Hakuda combat and Kido, something I've recently invented. You should feel honored. I didn't even feel this was appropriate to use on Uzumaki in our fight. That was my mistake. Since the completion of this technique, you're the only one I've used it on. I don't even have a name for it yet. No. Yoruichi cut her off. It has a name. Soifan narrowed her eyes at how Yoruichi still didn't seem shaken by what was happening. It's called Shunku. Flash cry. She lifted one arm out to the side, fully extended. Soifan looked at her in shock. What are you talking about? How could it have had a name? She wondered. She had just invented it herself not too long ago. Do you know why the Onmitsukido head uniform has no sleeves or back? Yoruichi asked as she clenched her fist, causing her power to pressurize much like Soifan's did, only hers was fully visible. Because the final form of this technique starts by focusing a huge amount of concentrated energy, Then through a concentrated explosion that energy is instilled in the user's arms and legs to enhance them for battle. It blows the clothing on the back and shoulders to bits. Just as she said that, the powerful force she spoke of shredded her clothing, leaving only the portion of her clothes that she specified. Yoruichi started walking calmly towards Soifan, flexing her arms out. You know, I wasn't planning to use this against you. She held her arm up at Soifan, palm out. Be careful, Soifan, because... She fired off an intense blast that caused a massive explosion, the scope of which caused her to chuckle and put a smirk on her face, as well as served the purpose of somewhat unnerving Soifan. I can't control it perfectly yet myself. The space between Soifan and Yoruichi was marred by a massive trench, carved out by Yoruichi's show of force. The landscape on both sides of them was thoroughly cleared. Soifan stood on a little island of untouched land that her opponent had intentionally left. Yoruichi looked at her lazily. I never showed you this technique because it's way too dangerous. This isn't possible. Soifan attacked Yoruichi again, but all in vain. That's enough. Yoruichi simply stopped Soifan's hand and held it in place effortlessly. It's still too early for you to use this technique. Yours is imperfect. Hanky, reverse demon. Soifan thought to herself as she couldn't channel any more power and froze her in place, using an amount of energy equal to an opponent's Kido to cancel out the opponent's attack. She countered the force of my punch in a split second. She dropped to her knees. How can this be? I'm stronger than you. She got back up and began attacking Yoruichi fruitlessly as her every attack was effortlessly defended. I should have surpassed you already. You should have gotten weaker and I should have grown in strength. Why is this happening? Why are you still above me? Why are you still so much stronger? I was so disappointed in you. I hated you. I cursed you. I swore to arrest you with my own hands, to gain strength and surpass you. She kept attacking Yoruichi, who listened to her and let her vent her frustrations. I will never forgive you, Yoruichi. You betrayed my trust and respect. I can't forgive you. She stopped raving as Yoruichi launched a single finishing punch at her, but stopped short of ending the fight. Tears came to Soifan's eyes. Why didn't you take me with you, Yoruichi-sama? Soifan collapsed to the ground in front of Yoruichi and began to cry. XXX. Ichigo vs. Byakuya. Ichigo smashed his Zanpakuto into Byakuya's again, causing the ground to crack from the force of the attack. The two then immediately jumped back. Byakuya took note of Ichigo's speed. Interesting. You were also able to master Shunpo as well, however. You're really taking it easy, aren't you? Ichigo said. You've been casually analyzing my strength. Is that really such a good idea? Aren't you going to come and attack me? He let out a laugh. You haven't scratched me once this time. This can't be the best you can do. His face turned gravely serious. So hurry up and use Bankai already. You said that you were going to kill me and then execute Rukia with your own hands. So? Byakuya queried at Ichigo's displeasure. I don't like it. Ichigo yelled at him. I'm going to use everything I have to beat you. I'll keep coming at you until you have no strength left. Executing your own sister with your own two hands. What a sick joke. No matter what reason you have, no matter the circumstance, don't ever say that in front of Rukia again. So use your Bankai and I'll break it in front of you. What a shallow taunt, you brat. Byakuya said, narrowing his eyes at Ichigo. No matter what you say, I will not change my mind about Rukia's fate, or yours. You want me to use Bankai? Don't forget your place. It is still 1,000 years too early for you to be worthy enough of dying by my Bankai. Chire. Senbon Sakura. Scatter. Senbon Sakura. As Byakuya's sword dispersed in its usual manner, Ichigo's eyes were able to hone in on the small blade and he quickly unleashed a highly condensed blast of power from the tip of his sword that cut through Byakuya's attempted attack and cut through the ground. Interesting, the aristocratic captain uttered. Is that the special ability of your Zanpakuto, Kurosaki Ichigo? Yep. He said with a smirk, I've never been able to perform an aimed shot before today. I don't even know how I made it happen until I trained with Zangetsu. Getsuga Tenshou, Moonfang Heaven Piercer. He stabbed his blade into the ground. I'll say it again. fight me with your Bankai and I'll definitely win." "What an arrogant attack name," Byakuya taunted dryly. "So be it. Since you so strongly desire my Bankai, witness it with your eyes and remember well." He turned his sword upside down and dropped it. "Don't worry, you won't regret it. Before you can do that you'll most certainly be rendered to dust in front of me." The sword descended into the ground as energy rippled out from around it and turned the sky dark. 2 rows of 1,000 giant blades came up from the ground around himself and Ichigo. Bankai. Senbon Sakura Kagayoshi. Vibrant display of 1,000 cherry blossoms. The blades then scattered into an impossible-to-count number of blossom-looking tiny blades. Ichigo pulled his sword from the ground and jumped into the air to avoid a quick rush of the blades before directing himself at Byakuya to attack. "How naive," Byakuya commented before a torrent of the blossoms attacked Ichigo from above and slammed him into the ground. The strength of Senbon Sakura lies in its ability to attack with countless blades from all directions. Your Zanpakuto's strength is great, however it is impossible to dodge using such slow technique. Ichigo pulled himself up, wounded from countless cuts on his body from Byakuya's attack. "I thought I had it, damn it. I guess not though. It's only logical that by using my initial release it's impossible to beat Bankai. I underestimated you like an idiot." Byakuya glared at him dangerously. "Be careful in your choice of words, brat. You make it sound as if you've acquired Bankai." A laugh escaped Ichigo. "Yeah, that's exactly what I was implying, Kuchiki Byakuya." "What did you say?" Byakuya asked with tone of underlying threat. Responding to a question with a question? Ichigo taunted. "I know you heard me. You believe me, don't you? It doesn't matter if I say it 2 or 3 times. If you don't believe my words, I'll show your eyes, Byakuya. Watch carefully. This is my Bankai." Ichigo held out his sword in front of his body as his Ryatsu stared, emitting treacherously, tearing up the landscape abound and shrouding him from view. When the dust cleared, Ichigo stood in a long, ankle-length black coat closed at his chest with a jagged bottom. His sword itself was now thinner, the design of a Daito with a jet-black blade. "Tensa Zanjetsu, Heaven Chain Slaying Moon," he said, looking back over his shoulder at Byakuya. "XXX. Naruto vs. Yamamoto. It's just my luck, of course." Naruto thought to himself as he found himself outrunning the flames from Yamamoto's Zanpakuto. His flames were strong. Naruto couldn't get past the obscene amount of flames to attack the Captain Commander directly. His wind would just make the fires worse, and of course there's no source of water for me to use a strong enough water jutsu with. It's so dry here that I couldn't pull enough moisture from the atmosphere to make a raindrop. "You're quite the elusive one when you want to be Uzumaki," Yamamoto said as he continued to direct his flames at Naruto, trying to cut him off or corral him towards the side of the cliff. Naruto's Sage Mode enhanced swift release speed allowed him to aptly dodge the flames of Ryujin Jaka and scurry up the side of the Tsukyoku execution platform with simply raw speed and momentum. From the view given to him up high, Naruto could see that he was cornered and the entire battlefield was covered in flames. "Fantastic," he muttered to himself sarcastically. "Don't make me do this, Yamamoto Gigi. This is really going to fuck you up if I do. You aren't dodging this." The flames continued to shift about wildly and began climbing the pillar to reach Naruto. If he jumped down, he would be jumping right into fire. If he stayed up top, he would be more or less burned at the stake. "You have nowhere to go," Yamamoto declared to Naruto loudly. "Surrender and accept your demise gracefully." Naruto started making hand seals. "Tell you what. You can take that flaming sword and shove it up your ass. I don't quit." He took a deep breath and punched himself in the stomach hard. Fuden. Renkuden, wind release. Drilling air bullet. Naruto fired off highly compressed ball of air from his mouth, strong enough to form a shockwave around his mouth when he let it go. The ball flew towards Yamamoto, blowing his flames out of its path and neutralizing his Zanpakuto's Shikai instant effect. "I see. Bakudu number 81. Danku. Way of binding number 81. Splitting void." A translucent barrier in the form of a rectangular wall formed in front of Yamamoto just as Naruto's volatile attack hit, exploding on contact. As the smoke cleared, The ground in front of the barrier had a crater 75 meters, 246 feet, in circumference, a strong Kido, but still not strong enough to break my Bakudu. Maybe on one of the normal captains that would have hit. His taunt died in his throat when he felt an incredible focalized point of Riryoku coming from where Naruto had been standing on the Tsukyoku. Two clones stood next to Naruto generating power as the original stood with his hand outstretched overhead, holding a large shuriken of raw energy over his head with a solid orb in the center. It let off a loud bell-like screech. The power of the jutsu began either sucking away or blowing down the flames crawling up after him, not Aikido. It's ninjutsu, my ninjutsu. Fuden. Rasen Shuriken, wind release. Spiraling Shuriken. Yamamoto's usually half-lidded gaze snapped wide open as he felt the strength of the attack in Naruto's hand and immediately began readying a counter, sensing that letting it come at him would end with nothing short of his own complete eradication. Limit of the Thousand's hands, respectful hands, unable to touch the darkness. Shooting hands unable to reflect the blue sky. The road that basks in light, the wind that ignited the embers, time that gathers when both are together. There is no need to be hesitant. Obey my orders. Light bullets, 8 bodies, 9 items, Book of Heaven, Diseased Treasure, Great Wheel, Gray Fortress Tower. Aim far away, scatter brightly and cleanly when fired. Hado number 91. Senju Koden Taihao. Way of Destruction number 91. Thousand-hand bright heaven-cutting seer. 10 large pink energy beams formed around Yamamoto, aimed right at Naruto. On the other hand, Naruto narrowed his eyes at the attack Yamamoto was forming and grit his teeth to brace himself. Neither of us are dodging either of these, so let's crash him and see who stands up. Yamamoto GG. With one last cry of exertion, Naruto let the Rasen Shuriken rip towards Yamamoto. Just before Naruto threw the Rasen Shuriken, Yamamoto fired his own attack. The beams formed one large one and plowed into Naruto's Rasen Shuriken, which expanded widely on impact, with the resulting explosion obliterating what hadn't been destroyed earlier of the Tsukyoku and making an utter wreck of everything within 3 kilometers of the epicenter. XXX. 10 minutes before. Ichigo versus Byakuya. What is that thing? Byakuya asked rhetorically at the appearance of Ichigo's Bankai. That small blade is his Bankai? Isn't that just the normal sealed form of your Zanpakuto? He narrowed his eyes. I see. With the execution of your Bankai, it appears you enjoy stepping on our pride. Then I will elicit the penalty for such. Byakuya moved his arms to initiate another attack with his own Bankai when Ichigo suddenly appeared right in his face, his blade on Byakuya's neck. If that pride has anything to do with Rukia's execution, then you're damn right I'm going to step on it. That's the whole reason I obtained Bankai. Ichigo then flashed back to his original place. I never saw him move. Byakuya thought to himself, why did you move your blade from my neck? Was it to show your confidence? Arrogance is often the undoing of a victory. I'll say it again. That thing you are holding cannot be Bankai. It is impossible for something so small to be Bankai, and it is impossible for one like you to obtain Bankai. Ichigo narrowed his eyes in annoyance at Byakuya. You'll regret not opening my throat when you had the chance. Miracles only happen once. With that, Byakuya commenced his attack with a storm of blossoms but found that Ichigo's movements were so impossibly fast his attack couldn't keep up. No matter how he directed his Zanpakuto ability at Ichigo, he seemed to be running circles around him. Ichigo cut at Byakuya only for Senbon Sakura Kagayoshi to protect Byakuya by blocking his attack. The orange-haired hero then broke off again and began moving so fast it seemed as if he were leaving multiple afterimages. What's wrong? Ichigo taunted. Too fast for you? Did you know I can go even faster? Don't get cocky, brat. Byakuya began moving his hands to direct his attack actively. I can use my hands to increase the speed as well. His attack closed in on Ichigo only for the substitute Shinigami to dice up the attack and keep himself unharmed. As Byakuya looked on in shock, Ichigo got a verbal shot in on him. Earlier you said that miracles only happen once. He vanished from Byakuya's sight and reappeared behind him. Well, what would you call it this time? However, Byakuya grabbed the blade in his hand, taking the damage to analyze the attack. I see. You take all of the power of your Bankai and compress it into a small condensed form. You then use the power granted to you to perform hyperspeed combat. Very well then, this power of yours, I will eradicate it. Ichigo swiftly freed the blade from Byakuya's grip and got some distance away from Byakuya. Kurosaki, watch carefully. This is it. The form that forgoes all defenses and focuses solely on the destruction of the enemy. Senbon Sakura's true form. Senkei. Senbon Sakura Kagayoshi. Annihilate, vibrant display of 1,000 cherry blossoms. The blood from Byakuya's wound glowed and turned to energy that mixed with his Bankai blades, forming into complete glowing swords that formed 4 floating rows that circled all around Ichigo and himself in the form of a column. Seeing the look of fear on Ichigo's face decided to assuage some of it. Don't worry. These 1,000 swords will not strike you all at once. I swore that this Senkei would only be shown to the person I wished to slay personally. One of the swords drifted into his hand and took the form of his usual, sealed Zanpakuto. You are the second person to ever see this, he said as he took one of the swords as it formed the appearance of his unsealed Zanpakuto. Ichigo smirked at Byakuya. Thanks for the compliment. The two then began to clash blades once more repeatedly. The two traded damage back and forth, the blood from their wounds staining the ground, rocks, and even the elevated swords forming Byakuya's technique. Ichigo, however, was steadily taking more damage from Byakuya as time dragged on. The two clashed again when Byakuya decided to comment, "Your moves have become sluggish, Kurosaki Ichigo." Really? Ichigo cracked back. From how I see it, your sword is moving so slowly it's like you're not even moving. In reply to the cheeky young warrior, Byakuya drove his sword through Ichigo's foot before placing 2 fingers against Ichigo's shoulder. Hado number 4. Byakurai. Way of Destruction number 4. White Lightning. A burst of lightning fired from his fingertips through Ichigo's shoulder, allowing Byakuya to free his blade and allow Ichigo to slump to his knees. This is your limit. He noticed Ichigo sneer up at him and continued to speak. Did you think my speed increased after Senkei? No. Senkei increased the killing power of my attacks. It does not affect my speed. Ichigo let out a growl as he realized what was being implied. I'm the one who got slower. You did good coming this far. Byakuya said to the downed Ichigo. You survived battle with a captain. And then after sustaining damage from Senbon Sakura you were able to keep going. But you must feel it by now. No matter how hard you push, your body won't move. It's over, he said as he lifted his sword overhead. As the blade descended to end his life, Ichigo's hand shot out and stopped its descent. Idiot, I told you if you died then I suffer too. Byakuya recoiled in shock as Ichigo rose up, still holding his sword in his grasp. How is this possible? Who are you? Who am I? Ichigo said manically, keeping his head low to reveal nothing more than a feral grin. I'm nobody. You ask me who I am, but I have no name. He slashed Byakuya across the chest, cackling wildly at the blood that sprayed through the air while Byakuya stumbled backwards. You're really worthless after all, Ichigo. Just being in his Bankai's Ryotsu made your bones shake like crazy. You're such a disgrace. Watch carefully, and I'll show you how to use Bankai correctly. Ichigo let off a slash of his sword that let loose a black wave of energy. Kuroi Getsuga, Black Moon Fang. Byakuya was forced to block the attack, winding up with him taking multiple wounds all over his body from the resulting explosion. This Ryotsu, and that mask. Are you a hollow? The mask on Ichigo's face continued to expand across his face as he laughed at Byakuya's wounds. This Ichigo was seemingly able to ignore his multiple wounds previously suffered to keep coming at Byakuya full force. Huh? You don't need to know that because soon you'll— His hand suddenly reached up and began peeling the mask from his own face. Gah. Damn it, let go. Don't get in the way. Leave. You're the one getting in the way. The hollow Ichigo roared back savagely. Just let me keep fighting and we'll win. Don't you see? You damned idiot. Ichigo finally ripped the mask off of his face and breathed heavily in exhaustion. Phew. Sorry about that. My inner demon got in the way. He held his sword up in front of him with a smirk. Come on. Let's start again from the beginning. I see. Byakuya thought to himself. Fighting like that no matter what injury you wound up dealing me was never your true intention, was it? Byakuya held his own sword at the ready. Very well, I'll disregard what happened earlier. Neither of us has the strength to keep this up any longer. Therefore let us end this with the next blow. Fine. Ichigo agreed before speaking again. Wait, let me ask you something. Why don't you try to save Rukia? Byakuya closed his eyes. If you defeat me I'll answer that question. Ichigo smirked in response. Shuki. Hakutaiken, Endscape. White Emperor Sword. All of the swords surrounding the two made their way into a single powerful sword focusing all of Byakuya's power. The white aura took the form of a bird, forming wings of energy on Byakuya's back and surrounding his body with the halo. Amazing. Ichigo eagerly admitted. Zangetsu hasn't taught me awesome tricks like that. I only have the Getsuga Tenshou, so the best I can do is to put all of my strength into one hit, so here I go. A jagged black aura started emerging from Ichigo's sword as he charged in. Kuchiki Byakuya. The two powerful Shinigami clashed against one another in a clash of power that could be seen from around the Seirei. Amid the dust stirred from the attack, the two stood post-attack having passed one another, still as statues until a vicious wound opened up from Ichigo's back. No, I can't fall now. As he thought this, the same thing happened to Byakuya, only all across his front as he stumbled ahead. You wanted to know the reason for my support of Rukia's death. He started talking, surprising Ichigo as he remembered the terms of Byakuya speaking on this. One who commits a crime must suffer the consequences. If one is sentenced to death, the execution must take place. Those are the rules. Even if she's your own sister, Ichigo choked out painfully and angrily. Are you referring to some sort of sibling bond? He wondered as Ichigo turned to face his back. What a foolish notion. In light of the rules, all personal feelings have no value. And something as useless as emotions, I never had them to begin with. He turned his head to face Ichigo, face covered in blood. The Kuchiki clan is one of the four noble families. We are role models for all Shinigami. If we do not obey the rules, who will? Ichigo looked at him thoughtfully and took in his words. Sorry, but I still don't get it. If I were you, I would definitely fight the rules. I see. Byakuya was coming to understand this strange boy more and more as their battle grew more intense, and he could finally answer his earliest question of why Ichigo was fighting. I was never the one he was fighting. From the beginning he was fighting the rules of the Soul Society. He is the same as that infuriatingly liberal man. He took a breath. Your will has shattered my blade, Kurosaki Ichigo. Therefore I can no longer pursue Rukia. The victor of this battle is you. Ichigo stood in silent reflection of what was just said for a moment. I won. A grin finally crossed his face. I won. Holy shit, I won. He exclaimed to the sky loudly before falling backwards. Ah. Fuck. I can't stand. He fell backwards right into Orihime, smashing into the back of her head where he fell to the ground, holding his head. Sorry Kurosaki-kun, are you okay? She asked apologetically. My head is as hard as a rock. Sorry, I tried catching you but... Ichigo finally realized who it was that was there with him. Inoue. He looked past her and saw the others. Chad? Uryu? Ganju? And some other guy? The other guy waved himself off as unimportant. I'm so glad everyone's alright. Uryu tilted the glasses on his face. We're not unharmed per se, but compared to you our injuries are insubstantial. Ichigo looked over to Orihime, who began waving her hands frantically. I'm completely fine, Kurosaki-kun. Even though I was completely useless, Ishida-kun and Shinigami-san protected me, and Zaraki-san carried me. So I was never in any danger at all. She then calmed down. But you, I'm so sorry Kurosaki-kun that I wasn't able to help you. So thank you for staying alive. I'm so glad that you're okay. Ichigo looked straight up at the sky and let out a laugh. Thanks Inoue. XXX. With Naruto. Ow, Naruto, covered in minute singes and scratch marks, mumbled to himself as he found himself thrown from the cliff that he and Yamamoto were fighting onto the ground below. Thank you, Sage Mode. Otherwise that would have hurt like hell. Naruto stood up and looked around. Okay. Now do I have enough time to climb up there and call it my win or what? I don't think you do, Uzumaki. Naruto turned around and suddenly saw Yamamoto standing there, holding his Zanpakuto in its sealed cane form. Damn it. How the hell did you get over here so fast? I just got up. That really hurt. Yamamoto jerked his head in the direction he came from. Well, you fell off of the cliff because you had the brilliant idea to stand on top of the Tsukyoku when our attacks hit. I didn't, I was on the ground. Naruto let off a sweat drop. Okay, I'll accept that. He set himself back into a fighting stance. Now let's finish this. That didn't even hurt and I didn't even use that much chakra. So then why were you moaning ouch just a moment ago? Yamamoto asked him. Because I bit my tongue when I landed. Naruto said with a deadpan face. Do you really care? Let's fight already. Hold that thought. Before Naruto and Yamamoto could continue fighting, Shunsui and Ukitake appeared in front of Naruto with their Zanpakuto drawn and at the ready at Yamamoto. I can't let you keep trying to kill the kid Yamajii. Kid? My ass crack. Naruto shouted at Shunsui, and where were you two when all of this started? We could have beaten his ass by now if you two had shown up sooner. Shunsui turned to Naruto and rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. We expected him to chase us away from the Tsukyoku. We didn't know he'd think you were more important to fight than us. On the other hand, Ukitake pondered, I do have that illness so I couldn't go that far that fast, and we're his students so he probably figured he could have gotten to us at any time while this Uzumaki was the one that had run roughshod over the Seirei and hadn't been captured. Shrugging, Shunsui turned back to Yamamoto. Either way, we've got your back. Something stinks about this whole thing and I don't like it one bit. Yamamoto leered angrily at Ukitake and Shunsui, and you two are willing to go all the way with your betrayal and take up arms against me? Ukitake tried to salvage the remains of the situation. We are not betraying you, Yamamoto-sama. Rukia is my responsibility and this is wrong. I must defend her from an injustice like this. Before they could begin the battle, a new message flashed through all of their heads, binding successful captains, lieutenants, and temporary lieutenants of the Gotei 13, as well as the Ryoka. This is Lieutenant Katetsu Aizen of the 4th Division speaking. Please listen carefully. Can everyone hear me? An emergency situation has occurred. This emergency transmission is under the authority of Captain Unohana Retsu of the 4th Division and myself. Everything I'm about to say is absolutely true. The message caused everyone to narrow their eyes and look back up at Tsukyoku Hill. Naruto snapped his fingers and shouted his current opinion. Yes. I knew that damn sword in the wall was suspicious as hell. Shunsui sighed. This is probably not the best time to be doing this, Yamajii. The three captains sped off towards the Tsukyoku the long way with Shunpo. Naruto watched them leave and looked up at the summit of the hill where he scoffed, like hell I'm running around and taking the long way. I'm taking the shortcut. Looking up he growled to himself, this is going to suck. Climbing halfway up pissed me off. Now I have to go the whole way? He ran at the cliff face with a war cry and latched on, digging his sage mode enhanced fingers into the rock to begin climbing swiftly. XXX. Tsukyoku Hill. You always were the most troublesome one of the bunch, Aburai-kun. Aizen said calmly as he easily broke Renji's Shikai and wounded him deeply. I knew from the second I met you, Kira-kun, and Hinamori-kun that I could use you three. Thus when you all graduated I had you put in the 5th division. The other more useful two became my and Jin's direct subordinates, and as for you, the problematic one, I kicked you to another division immediately. And my instincts were correct. Now for the last time, put Kuchiki down and move away. I refuse. Renji roared at the rogue captain. Rukia tried to convince him to let her go. Renji, just. I told you to be quiet, Rukia. He grinned at Aizen. You can't have her, you bastard. Aizen lifted his sword up. How unfortunate. His slash meant to finish Renji off was blocked by Ichigo in Bankai. Why are you on the ground, Renji? Is Rukia that heavy? I'm here to help. Renji looked away. Ichigo, Sorry you had to come and save. Ichigo cut him off jokingly. You look pretty beat up considering that you were only carrying Rukia around. Was the load that heavy for you to run with? The two began to argue before settling down and taking note of the situation. So that's Aizen. Can you still fight, because we won't be able to outrun all three of them? He said, noting that Ichimaru, Jin and Tusen Kanami were behind him watching. Renji nodded. Zabumaru's broken form still has its uses. Then let's get this started, Ichigo said, looking at Aizen menacingly. Renji held his sword up for a particular technique. I can only do this once, but it will definitely make an opening. Against a captain like him you can only hope for a small advantage. You'll have to move fast. Higazeku. Bite of a broken baboon's fang. The pieces of his broken shikai levitated in the air around Aizen and attacked him. The attack kicked up dust from the damage, but gave Ichigo an opening to rush in and attack. However, when he got close enough to attack, Aizen stopped his attack with one finger and slashed Ichigo across the belly. It appears my swing was too shallow. I meant to cut off everything below the waist. Aizen then vanished and reappeared behind Renji, having already cut him down as well, leaving him alone with Rukia. Stand up, Kuchiki Rukia. When she couldn't stand he shook his head, of course. My Ryotsu is making it hard for you to stand. He grabbed her by her prisoner's collar and began to drag her along. Looking over at Ichigo, who was still conscious, he taunted the downed Ichigo. You must really hate the fact that your strength doesn't equal the level of your vitality, though it would be best to cease with that recklessness. Right now your spine is the only thing holding your body together. Getting up would destroy your body. Just lay there quietly until you pass on. Your mission is over. Ichigo looked at him in shock. Everything you've done so far since your first steps trying to enter the Seirei were all directed by me. You made things quite easy to make our moves. He shook his head at Ichigo. You don't even know why Urahara Kazuki really sent you here, do you? He sent you here for the one thing that can help a Shinigami break their most concrete boundaries. Urahara Kazuki created a substance that reacts beyond the physics of the Soul Society. Something that can easily dissolve the barrier between Shinigami and Hollow. The Haugoku, crumbling sphere. He tried to destroy it due to its danger, but he could only do one thing. He placed a barrier around it and placed it within the depths of a person's soul. If you haven't figured it out yet, the place he hid it in was inside Kuchiki Rukia. Aizen pointed at her. Eventually you would have lost all of your Riryoku and become human to hide his device. He was never helping you. He took amusement in the look on her face. You look troubled. Before he could continue his explanation, a large captain with a wolf's head burst into the area and attacked Aizen. For your lies and betrayal of all of us I will give you no mercy. He noticed Kanami behind him. And you, Tusen, do you have anything to say? The man remained silent. Nothing at all? How disappointing, Bankai. Before he could gather the energy necessary to activate his Bankai, Aizen appeared in front of him. Hado number 90. Kurohitsugi, Way of Destruction number 90, Black Coffin. Goodbye Komamura. A black box of energy surrounded Komamura as a mass of energy spears penetrated the box, piercing Komamura and swiftly defeating him. Spells that high in number are truly more difficult to handle. That attack was not as strong as it should have been with the incantation. Now where was I? Aizen turned his attention back to Rukia. Oh yes, he said, getting back on track. After I discovered you in the human world I murdered the Central 46 and used my Zanpakuto's ability to hypnotize others into thinking all was well. I have been there ever since I faked my death. The Tsukyoku execution method to extract the Haugoku failed, so I must use the secondary way. His arm took on a strange form and impaled Rukia through the chest, where he pulled out a tiny ball covered in a crystal-looking barrier. It's so small. He looked down at Rukia, whose wound was healing, and the recipient of the technique was unharmed. But sadly you are no longer of any use to me. He looked over at Jin and Kanami. One of you kill her. Jin and Kanami walked forward with Jin pulling out his Zanpakuto, Ikoros. Senjutsu. Rasenrengen, Sage Technique. Spiraling Group Spheres. Naruto came up from behind Jin and Konami and hit them both with twin Rasengans in both hands that sent them both flying. Taking advantage of the confusion, a heavily wounded Byakuya rescued Rukia from Aizen's grasp. Naruto slid across the ground hard, leaving a scratch in the earth as he came to a stop before glaring at Aizen from a crouched position. I should have just played pack rat and grabbed that little sword in the wall when I first saw it. That would have fucked your plans all up, wouldn't it? Aizen drew his Zanpakuto and Naruto cursed, having discarded his Sage Code earlier to fight Yamamoto without getting it burned. Before he could begin a fight with Naruto, Yoruichi and Soifan surrounded him, with Yoruichi holding his Zanpakuto and Soifan holding hers to his neck. If you move even a single muscle, you'll lose your head. Very well, Aizen said, as right on cue two giants, the keepers of the other gates, emerged, destroying much property in the Seirei. Not even you two can come after me while fighting those giants at the same time. Yoruichi and Soifan were legitimately considering letting him go to protect the Seirei. Shinra Tensei, heavenly subjugation of the omnipresent god. From where Naruto was standing, an invisible blast of gravity tore up half of the cliff he was standing at the edge of and hit the giant men, pancaking them into craters in the ground and swiftly defeating them in one move. Naruto's Sage Mode dropped. Great, too much time passed for me to put that much behind Shinra Tensei and keep Sage Mode. Fine. I still have one clone left and the first one lasted a long time. He turned back to Aizen once he felt the sky rip open above the Tsukyuku. The other captains had Aizen, Konami, and Jin surrounded until that opening was formed, with multiple Manos Grande peeking through trying to spill out. 3 beams emerged from the hole and snatched the 3 perpetrators up. Naruto's eyes angrily went into Sage Mode again as he formed 2 Kage Bunshin swiftly while they were slowly levitating away. They quickly formed a Rasen Shuriken. No you don't, you son of a bitch. This is all your fault. I'll vaporize you here and now. Fuden. Rasen Shuriken, Wind Release. Spiraling Shuriken. Naruto launched the attack right at the mouth of the hole in the sky where the Manos Grande all were. Naruto, no. Yoruichi yelled at him once he launched the attack. Nothing we do can touch Aizen from here. The light he's in is technically in another dimension. The attack flew into the sky and hit the inside of the hollow hole, eradicating each Manos Grande in the resulting explosion. Naruto glared up at Aizen and lifted his hand at him. Get down here, damn you. Banshu Tenin. Heavenly attraction of all creation. No matter how much force Naruto pumped into the jutsu, none of the conspirators were pulled down an inch. What are you trying to do? He roared at Aizen. You betrayed all of these people, your comrades. You orchestrated the death of someone innocent and killed so many people. What the hell was it all for? He roared at Aizen. Yukatake shook his head. You truly have fallen, Aizen. To go higher, Aizen said simply. No one starts on top of the world. Not you, not me, not even the gods. But the unbearable vacancy of the throne in the sky is over. He took his glasses off as his appearance radically changed. From now on I will be sitting on it. He turned his back on everyone. Goodbye Shinigami. And goodbye young Ryoka. You really are an interesting bunch, for humans. He disappeared into the portal as the sky closed. Naruto was seething in rage at Aizen getting away. Not again, never again. I'm never letting anyone like that gain power ever again. He yelled, surprising everyone around him. Yoruichi walked up and put a hand on his shoulder. Naruto, calm down. He's gone. We can't pursue him from here. Look around. She gestured to the area surrounding them and all of the wounded about across not just the hill, but all over the Seirei. There are more important things to do right now. This entire place has been turned upside down and needs to recover. Naruto's breathing steadily slowed down and he deactivated his Rinnegan before plopping down on the ground, taking a seat. Naruto ran a hand through his hair and calmly shrugged off the attempts at medical attention. He was fine. The 4th Division was all about healing the others. He saw Orihime tending to Ichigo, Rukia sitting next to her deeply wounded older brother Byakuya, and the other wounded getting treatment. He looked up at Soifan, who was standing nearby with Yoruichi, So, you still want to kill me? Soy Fan glared down at him before shaking her head and softening her glance to her normal impassive look. No, everything is over. Like Yoruichi-sama said, there are more important things happening right now. There is no need to be angry with you. Naruto nodded and hopped to his feet. Okay, so let's try this again, but more pleasant this time. He held out his hand. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. Nice to meet you. Soy Fan rolled her eyes and walked away, huffing and going to find her lieutenant. Naruto stood blinking as she walked away and turned to Yoruichi. I thought she didn't want to kill me anymore. Yoruichi let out a short laugh, and she just doesn't like you much either. Naruto kneeled on the ground and played in the dirt, dejectedly muttering. Why doesn't she like me? Getting Yoruichi to pat him on the head. It's okay, Naruto. She'll come around, or not. Now come on. Let's go check on the others. Naruto stood back up and dusted himself off when Yoruichi handed him his sage coat. He smiled and put it back on as they walked over to check on the other members of their group, but his eyes drifted back up to the sky and narrowed. It had been just over 2 days since the end of all of the ruckus that had occurred throughout the Seirei, and things were calming down. Though with all of the wounded and the issues certain keeping people from returning home, the more, shall we say, restless individuals? Yes, the more restless individuals had to do what they could to fight boredom. Naruto paced around in the front of a darkened room with a stern look on his face. Quite honestly, you are all not that bad at all as far as a squad of ninja would go. For most people, you'd get the drop on them and kill them. Unfortunately for all of you, I'm not most people, and I wound up kicking your asses in fast forward. Naruto stopped and looked out at the crowd of the shadowed members of the Onmitsuki-do executive militia. Any questions? He waited for a moment to hear nothing. Okay, good, moving on. He then pulled a dry erase board out and began drawing rudimentary diagrams. One of the things that I noticed is that you all don't use that many traps. I expected the entire 2nd Division HQ to be booby-trapped to the hilt. Not a single one. Today's lecture will be to teach you all the nuances of trapping and the sweet science of the ambush. Questions? Once again no one said anything. Good. Then let's start. Now how do you know you're in an ambush? You're probably thinking, when things don't feel right. Well, in that case you're wrong, and being wrong means you're dead. You're being ambushed when everything feels right. When everything seems like it's going your way, things are going too well, and that means you're being ambushed. What about diversions? One of the special forces said. Naruto pointed at him. That is a very good question. A good trap feels like a simple diversion, something threatening enough to get your attention to divert it from something else. If it feels like it's too easy to get out of, and the answer to the issue is too basic and spelled out for you, it is a trap. And doing the obvious will get you killed. Likewise for situations that feel too comfortable when they really shouldn't. Naruto then blinked and his face went stark in realization. Speaking of traps, this is one, isn't it? Everyone in the room remained still and silent. Yeah, this is a trap. There's no way in hell I'd be getting in here without Soy Fan trying to take my head off for doing it, which means... Naruto was cut off when he quickly burst into smoke as a fist passed through it. Damn, Soy Fan said to herself. I just missed him. She stood up and looked at the force that she commanded. That was acceptable as a diversion. The execution on my part was flawed. I waited until he realized something was wrong to attempt to strike. Remember, never let your quarry have time to deduce that something is wrong, or else your ambush is compromised. Now back to work, she said as she walked out of the room. As she exited, the dry erase board transformed back into Naruto, who cracked his neck and grinned at the elites. Rule number 1. I'm number 1. Rule number 2. There is never just one of me in a room. Rule number 3. The more you have to convince yourself I'm not there, the better chance there is of me actually being there. You're all dismissed, Naruto said, disappearing in a swirl of leaves and wind. XXX Naruto reappeared outside, standing on the roof of the 2nd Division headquarters with a smile on his face. Ah, I love this place. It's awesome. So many people to mess with, it's like a hidden village kind of. I'm glad you like it so much, Uzumaki. Soifan said as she stood behind him. Any last words for trespassing on my division grounds? Hello my little bee. Naruto said, turning to face her before blocking her Zanpakuto with a kunai. As kind of you as it is, I don't really want another one of your love marks, beautiful. People will start spreading rumors about us. Soifan narrowed her eyes at him and put her Zanpakuto up. I don't really want to hear this from you. Naruto in turn placed his kunai back up his sleeve and out of sight. Fine. So what are you doing right now? Don't you need to get back to your office? Everyone in any position of influence or power I've ever met had tons of office busy work to take care of. Well, I'm efficient unlike many of the other captains, and my seated officers handle all but the most pressing of affairs for my squad. All I really do is work for the Onmitsukido. Soifan explained to him before coughing in her hand as she remembered what she wanted with him. I have to speak to you about a few issues. Naruto looked at the petite captain and tilted his head in puzzlement. Like what? What do you need from me? Soifan turned on her heel and walked away. Follow me to my office, we can talk freely there, she said before vanishing as she utilized Shunpo. Naruto rolled his eyes at the dismissive way she just ordered him to do something. Woman, you could have at least walked with me to the office, never mind the fact that I know the way. That's not the point, he said before disappearing in another swirl of leaves and wind. XXX. 4th Division Headquarters, Medical Bay. Ichigo was stuck in his bed. Despite the fact that Orihime quickly healed him on the spot, keeping him from critical condition, nearly getting cut in half hurt like hell, and really didn't give much weight towards asking the head of the healing division to leave a mere 2 days later. And he learned that anyone trying to cause a ruckus in her HQ under the watch of one Unohana Retsu would inevitably be scared shitless by the seemingly docile, tender woman. Letting out a sigh, Ichigo peered outside of his window. Bored to death, stupid wounds. I'm so damn bored in here. I want to go find everyone else. And where's Rukia at? I can find everyone for you if you need me to. Ichigo. Ichigo turned to his open window to see Yoruichi looking inside from outdoors. I'm kind of bored anyway. No, he said, sitting up and looking over at the beautiful woman. Everyone doesn't need to be in here messing around with me. He sat in thought for a moment before speaking. Hey Yoruichi, why did Naruto come to the Soul Society with us? I mean, I don't know him like I do Chad, Uryu, and Inoue, and he didn't know Rukia at all. Yoruichi smiled. I guess you could consider it him doing a favor for me. I wanted to come back here to look things over anyway, and I wanted someone else I knew could handle themselves to come along to help me keep you all out of too much trouble. She leaned on the windowsill, placing her cheeks in her hands. Why do you ask, Ichigo? Ichigo scratched his head. I don't know. He's a strange guy, and he's strong. He's really strong. How did you even convince him to do it? It wasn't that hard, Yoruichi said in a sly manner. Of course it didn't hurt that I transformed right in front of him after I asked. He's a pervert, but he's a reliable person, and you already know about his immortality thing. Do you believe it? Ichigo frowned at the question. I don't know what to think. Everything he said sounded 100% serious. Do you believe him? Yoruichi nodded with a serious look on her face. Absolutely I do. He's knowledgeable about too many events in the world of the living that no one should know about, and he can give me first-hand accounts of certain times in your human history. She then kept her last thought to herself, and eyes like that can't fake pain when recalling all of the time that has passed for one person. It's his eyes, no matter what, they will always show the emotion he tries to keep to himself for those skilled enough to seek it. Ichigo lay back down in his bed. Well, either way, I trust him. I didn't at first, but after this whole crazy thing and all of the stuff we did, I can't help but respect the guy. Hey, how strong is he, by the way? Yoruichi blinked. I don't really know. I fought him before, but that was before both of us were in actual fighting shape. It was mostly us messing around before we traded one good attack, and that was that. He fought the Captain Commander Yamamoto without too much damage being done to either of them, so I don't know how good he really is. When he fought Soifan, he held back too much on my account and got himself hurt badly. Ichigo took all of this to mind. So if we fought, could I beat him? Yoruichi snorted and began laughing. putting a tick mark of annoyance on the substitute Shinigami's head. All you had to do was say, "Not yet, Ichigo." Or better yet, you could have just said no, but you had to laugh, didn't you? XXX. 2nd Division Headquarters, Soifan's office. Naruto sat comfortably in a chair in front of Soifan's desk as he patiently watched finish up her work. He simply chose to look aimlessly around the office that he had already been in beforehand with Yoruichi, but getting a claw mark across the face kept him from analyzing everything he could in there. "Stop sizing up my office, Uzumaki," Soifan said, not looking up from her work, but still well aware of what Naruto was doing. "I'll be done in just a moment." Naruto gave a smile that she couldn't see. "It's okay. You can do what you want. I have all the time in the world, literally. There's no rush for me, my little bee." Soifan kept silent until she finished and set her completed documents to the side. "First of all, will you stop calling me that? Only Yoruichi-sama has ever called me that, and I would like that to remain as it is." Naruto thought about it for a moment. "Will you go out with me?" He could feel her Ryatsu spike at the implication. "To explore the Seirei? Damn, let me finish first, Soifan." He cleared his throat and continued. "I have no idea where I'm going or what there is to do for any kind of relief around here. What do you do in your spare time?" "I train," Soifan said, glaring at him slightly. "That's what a good warrior is supposed to do in times of peace, train their bodies and spirits for times of strife." Naruto fought the urge to sigh. "I meant when you're not training. You've got to have a cool-down hobby." Soifan quickly answered him. "I meditate." Naruto's smile returned as he leaned forward in his chair and put his hands on her desk. "There you go, that's something. I meditate all the time too, it's relaxing. So what else do you do for fun? Come on, you've got to have something." "No, I don't," Soifan said, starting to get perturbed with Naruto. Speaking of Naruto, he gave her a deadpan look before abruptly standing and grabbing her arm, surprising Soifan with the sudden action. He got as far as halfway to the door when she reversed his grip to a dominant position for her behind his back and shoved him face first into said door. "Ow. Close, aren't we? Didn't even have to buy you dinner first. I'm awesome." Soifan jerked his arm to an uncomfortable angle. "What do you think you're doing, Uzumaki? Speak quickly before you lose this," she said, accentuating her point by putting more torque in his arm. "I just ow." "Okay," Naruto said, trying to get her to ease off of him. "I just wanted to get you out of this stuffy old office. You're too pretty to be doing nothing but working all the time. How long have you been doing this? 100 years. Soifan was no longer trying to break his arm, but she moved close enough to hiss lowly into his ear. "I don't like you, Uzumaki." He opened his mouth to offer a witty retort when she jerked his arm to get him to be quiet. "Shut up. You have an incredible amount of skill for battle. You fought Yamamoto Sotaichu to a standstill. You got the better of me in our conflict. You are powerful, and yet you walk around with this attitude. You never take anything seriously. You always pretend that everything is all a big joke, even in combat. What is wrong with you?" Naruto looked over his shoulder at Soifan, staying silent for a long time as her hardened eyes tried burrowing into his head with her gaze. "You really don't like me?" "No," she said assertively. "I tolerate you because Yoruichi-sama holds you in high regard for some reason. Were that not the case, I probably would have tried to exterminate you by now for being a nuisance. But trying to kill you would clearly displease her, and your death isn't worth it." Soifan finally let go of Naruto's arm and let him turn to face her. Naruto was rubbing his arm, trying to get the feeling of pins and needles out. "I see, Yoruichi-chan, huh? Yoruichi-sama," Soifan exclaimed threateningly. "You will address her properly." Naruto picked at his ear. "Yeah, no, I don't address anyone properly. I haven't done it once in the tons of years I've been alive, and I'll be damned if I start now. So let's go find Yoruichi-chan right now. I can do it." Initially she had planned to berate him for once again using Yoruichi's name in a far too familiar manner. However, after registering what he had said along with it, Soifan's eyes widened. "Really? Really?" Naruto said with a grin. "Right now?" she wondered, An opportunity to actually spend time with her idol for the first time in over 100 years dangling right in front of her. I have to remain behind in case of work. It's my duty. Blah, blah, blah. Naruto said as he created a cage bunshin and hanged it into Soy Fan before sending it behind the desk in her place. There. The only way to prove it isn't you is to punch it in the face. Is there anyone at all under your command with the balls to do that? Soy Fan shook her head. Then that means that you're clear. My clone is no dummy, and anything that it can't do it'll leave for you when we get back, so let's go, he said, opening the window in her office and jumping out, motioning for her to follow. If I find her and you're not with me, I'm not sending her over to you. That was all Soy Fan needed to get going. She was sick of that stuffy office anyway. As long as her work got done, who really cared if she stepped out for a moment? She was a damn captain. She could do what she wanted. So with that in mind, Soy Fan hopped outside with Naruto and the two took off in search of one Shihuan Yoruichi. XXX. Okay, she wasn't in the hideout. I knew that was going to happen, Naruto said as he and Soy Fan walked through the roads of the Seireiti. The only reason we went up there is because you insisted on seeing it. Naruto then pouted. You didn't even want to use the hot spring while we were there. Not with you, I didn't. Soy Fan quipped dryly as the two walked along, Shinigami moving out of their path as they did. Naruto quickly noticed this. Oi, are the other Shinigami scared of you or something? Soy Fan's face didn't really register any interest in the question. My skill and strength would make me unapproachable by most. It would be natural that I would intimidate them. Honestly, since Yoruichi-sama did years ago, you're actually the only person that has ever done anything like this with me. Feel honored, Uzumaki. Naruto felt the urge to facepalm. It's not your power that really does it, it's your demeanor. If they weren't me, then they'd obviously think that talking to you would cost them their lives. Naruto decided to attempt to keep engaging the beautiful assassin in conversation. So where are we and what's special about this place? The road opened up into a rather spacious area with multiple buildings intended for living facilities all around them as Soy Fan began to explain. This is the 8th Division headquarters and barracks. Captain Kyoraka Shunsui is the leader of this division. He seems to be a person after your own heart, Uzumaki. I have no idea why you would spend so much time pestering me in my division when you could come here. Naruto threw up his hands behind his head. I keep hanging out around the 2nd Division because it reminds me the most of my original home. He then kept the follow-up thought of that comment to himself, and I am going to find a way to talk to you if it kills me, and you're probably going to be the one to do that yourself at this rate. He decided to try his plan of getting Soy Fan to open up. So, when we fought, you didn't use your bankai on me. Why? Soy Fan casually started answering his question as it was a topic she had no problems talking about. Fighting. My bankai goes directly against my fighting style. It's not the type to be used by a covert ops specialist. I can't move the way I need to when I use it, and the actual attack it causes is not exactly subtle. Naruto nodded. He had plenty of moves like that. Hell, his entire career was based off of using moves that were way too destructive for his own good. So can I see it? I'll show you mine. He then blinked and thought about what he had just said once he felt Soy Fan glaring at him. I did not intend that to sound the way it did. I meant your bankai. Kind of. It would tire me out for no reason at all. Soy Fan reasoned for not doing so and letting his potential innuendo slide. And it's not really the kind of technique you use for exhibitions or demonstrations. Boo, Naruto said, though he understood. Half of his attacks weren't really things that he wanted to use in front of people that he didn't have a current pressing gripe with. Do you think Yoruichi-chan is here? He rolled his eyes when he felt Soy Fan glare at him. I'm not going to call her Sama. You might as well try to stab me if it's really bothering you that much. It's worth a look. Soy Fan said resolutely, and don't complain or question me. You were the one that wanted me to take you on a tour of the Seireiti anyway. This is as close as you're going to get to one. She led him inside of the main building of the division grounds and straight to the office of Shunsui, where she simply let herself in. Kyoraka Taiko. The man looked up from leaning back in his desk chair at Soy Fan and Naruto standing in the doorway. Naruto pointed at the relaxed-looking captain. Hey, you're the guy that was about to help me fight Yamamoto Jiji. Shunsui pointed back, and you're the kid that was going toe-to-toe with Yamajii and smoked all of those Manos Grande with that one attack. What's your name again? It's supposed to be really familiar to me for some reason. Naruto gave him a deadpan look. It's Uzumaki Naruto. Nice to meet you now that I'm not fighting the lot of you, and who knows, you might even come to like me. Me and Soy Fan had a little runaround during all of the invasion stuff, and now look, we're great friends. He tried putting an arm around her and wound up eating a jab to the breadbasket that had him sucking air. See? That was friendly little love tap, he said in a squeaky voice. Shunsui nodded and chuckled at Naruto and Soy Fan's interaction. So what can I do for both of you? Do you need my assistance with something, or would you simply like to have a drink with me? Naruto raised his hand. I vote we do the second one. Soy Fan forcefully lowered his arm. Oh, come on. Why not? I want to get you drunk. You look like you'd be more fun that way. She refused to budge on the matter. Damn it. Fine. Maybe I'll come back later. Have you seen Yoruichi-chan anywhere? I haven't seen her all day. We're looking for her. Shunsui rubbed his stubble as he thought. I can't say that I have. You might want to ask one of your other friends, the ones you came here with. The Ichigo kid should still be in the medical ward if you head over towards the 4th Division way. He shrugged his shoulders. Other than that, I don't know what to tell you. Soy Fan nodded. Thank you anyway. Until the next time we meet Kyoraka Taiko. She then turned to exit the room. Naruto was quick to follow suit until Shunsui called out to him. Actually I do remember where I know your name. He reached into his desk and pulled out a familiar orange book. Would you do me the honor of signing this for me, Naruto-sama? I'm sorry, but I had to hide it from my lieutenant and Soy Fan Taiko. Naruto looked around the corners outside for Soy Fan before grinning and pulling out a pen. Of course. Good to see that I have Shinigami fans. We should hang out sometime. XXX. 4th Division Headquarters. So what was it you were doing talking with Kyoraka Taiko back there? Soy Fan asked him as they both walked through the halls of the medical-based squad. You had a satisfied look on your face when you caught up to me. Naruto had a knowing grin on his face. Oh, nothing. I just have more fans of my writing skills than I could have ever imagined. I wonder how much money I have in the Soul Society now compared to the money from the living world. I need to check my account soon. Soy Fan gave him a look of skepticism. You write? And you actually make money from it? That's a shocker? Think what you want to. My bank account should tell you all you need to know when the time comes. Naruto replied rather dismissively. The hospital. Much to my surprise and utter delight, I actually avoided a prolonged stay in here this time. I didn't touch a single shred of hospital fabric whatsoever. He said, rather proud of that fact. However, Soy Fan failed to see the magnitude of that achievement. Whatever you say, Uzumaki. Now help me find the Kurosaki brat, Soy Fan said sternly. Fine. Naruto said, I'm going to get a smile out of you before the day is over, and I don't mean a smirk like when I get hurt. No, I mean an actual honest smile. Ichigo. Soy Fan turned to him almost fearfully if he didn't know any better. Quiet, you idiot. Don't be so loud in here, she hissed in a whisper. You don't want to upset her. Naruto looked at the leader of the Onmitsukido as if she were someone completely foreign to him. You sound shaken up. I stuck you to a giant ball of random debris and threw you at a barrier, and you didn't seem as shaken up as you were right now. And upset who? Everyone in this division seems totally chill. Naruto cupped his hands to his mouth again. Ichigo. Oi. Where are you at, you punk? He yelled, getting a cringe out of Soy Fan at his tone. I'm glad you like the atmosphere of our division so much, Uzumaki-san. The calming voice of Unohana Retsu said as she appeared behind Naruto and Soy Fan, sending a shiver down the spine of one and putting a smile on the face of the other. However, I would appreciate it if you took Soy Fan Taiko's advice and toned it down while you were here. We have people recovering from their injuries here. Naruto turned around to face Unohana and met her beautiful smile with his own. Sorry, Retsu-chan. We were just looking for Ichigo, and I kind of knew that making a ruckus would bring you around here. Let's just say I wanted to say hi without the chance of fireballs flying all around my head, so hello. Hello to you, Uzumaki-san. Unohana said, bowing slightly to him, and as long as you keep your volume down, feel free to look around for Kurosaki-san. You were heading the right way anyway. Keep going this way to reach the medical bay, it should be easy to find him from there. Naruto nodded, committing the information to memory. Got it. Thank you, Retsu-chan. I'll have to come back and talk to you sometime before I leave. It would be nice to be on good terms with a doctor with as much as I get beat up. Especially such a pretty one. He finished, winking at her and getting a wave for his troubles as he and Soifan walked away. Must you be so incorrigible, you deviant? Soifan questioned as they got a distance away from Unohana. Honestly, Unohana Taiko is a captain of the Gotei 13. And here you are throwing that hapless attitude of yours around like this. It's disrespectful. Naruto looked back at the lovely Unohana, who waved once more before going back to her own business. I don't think it's that disrespectful because first of all I'm not a Shinigami, so your ranks don't really mean that much to me. Second of all, don't you guys get sick of people walking around you like they're tiptoeing through a minefield? You can only have a straight conversation with other captains because everyone is always kissing your ass. I'm sure she's kind of tired of it all of the time. She seemed to enjoy the way I was talking. Taking note of the fact that Naruto easily talked his way out of Unohana's tense smiling aura that usually went with someone disturbing things in her division HQ, Soifan almost had to concede the issue. I see your point. Naruto nodded. I mean, wouldn't you want at least one person in your division that isn't a yes man? From what I've seen, even your lieutenant is. And he's pretty cocky most of the rest of the time, so having a guy like that fall in line is really something. A smirk came to his face. He kind of recoiled that one time when I was doing that lecture on throwing killing intent into your Ryotsu. That was pretty good. He noticed a smirk form on Soifan's face. There you go, I'm getting you there. It looks like you have a little mischievous streak in you. I like that. Well, I haven't wanted to kill you since we left my headquarters, so I guess it is something. Soifan said, the look on her face softening further as she and Naruto continued. So are you sure that Kurosaki Ichigo can help us? Naruto shoved his hands in his pockets and kept walking alongside his companion for the day. Well, if I don't know where Yoruichi-chan is and you don't know, he's the only other person I can think of besides Byakuya who would know, and he's here too, so we'd have to head here and find him anyway. He grinned to the woman at his side. I'm not as dumb as I look and act all the time. Soifan shook her head. One inconsistency cannot make up for an entire acquaintanceship, leaning towards the contrary. Soifan abruptly stopped at a door. Kurosaki's in there. She noticed Naruto wondering how she could find him so easily. Even when he's not fighting, his Riryoku is abnormally high. Anyone with good experience in sensing spiritual power can find one such as him. She turned her eyes towards him, almost teasing. Wait a minute, she was teasing him. She was teasing him, holy shit. Naruto let out a fake laugh. Ha, ha, ha. So sue me. I'm new at this whole sensing spiritual energy thing. I'm more used to looking for, and finding the living. Dealing with mostly physical powers. Naruto thumped himself on the chest. Just give me some time, I'll get the hang of it perfectly. At least I'm back in the saddle when it comes to the fighting part now. Naruto opened the door and gestured for Soifan to enter first. Oi, Ichigo. How are you doing? Ichigo looked at the door and heard Naruto's voice but saw him with Soifan. I'm just great for a guy that almost got cut in half not too long ago. But what are you two doing here, and together to boot? He tilted his head curiously. Are you two on a date? Naruto held Soifan in place before she could go over and cause any more harm to Ichigo to make him stay in the hospital for longer. Soifan, if you kill him you'll get in trouble and Yoruichi-chan will be pissed. Or amused. But for Ichigo's sake I'll keep that one to myself. He let her go when she calmed down, and he ended up catching a sharp elbow to the ribs that he was ready for this time and took head on like a champ. Anyway, we need your help. Have you seen Yoruichi-chan today? Ichigo raised an eyebrow. She's not with you? I thought she would have gone to find you to mess with you after she left here. I don't know where she is now. Naruto let out a sigh. He didn't want to use Kage Bunshin because now it was starting to become a matter of pride. He would be damned if he had lost his touch so much that he couldn't track Yoruichi just in his leisure time. He was going to find her before sunset. Lack of knowledge of the area layout be damned. Alright Ichigo, thanks anyway though. Soy Fan turned and left, as did Naruto, just at a more reserved pace, allowing Ichigo to stop him at the door. Hey Naruto. Naruto turned at the doorway and faced the young man. So are you two actually on a date? Naruto blinked and delivered his answer in a straightforward and completely serious manner. Yes. Yes we are. He gave him a thumbs up while keeping his same expression and finally left the room where he found Soy Fan waiting right against the wall, glaring at him. Yes I knew you were right there the entire time. Do something about it. I did that because he is going to tell people, and it's going to be hilarious. Wait until we get outside. She warned him, keeping a schooled expression. It won't be funny in a minute. Yes it will. Naruto insisted, not too frightened by her not-so-veiled threat, because you and I both know that there's no way in hell you're going to be caught chasing me all over the place in broad daylight, my little bee. XXX. 45 minutes later, and he was right. She wasn't caught. Of course Naruto had forgotten that Soy Fan was only second to Yoruichi when it came to mastery of her shunpo, and when people tried looking at her moving when she went fast enough all they would see was a blur. If even that, and if she never stopped they would never know it was really her. And clearly, when she activated her Shikai and gave him a quick, shallow little cut on his chest followed by the most evil look he had ever seen on her face, Naruto realized she was legitimately chasing his ass down and activated swift release. From that point forward all bets were off. If he stopped to get help, not that any of the random Shinigami they flew past at full speed could actually help him, she would get one free shot at him that if she had mercy and chose not to kill him, would take him down before he could even utter a word for assistance and drag him off to beat his ass away from prying eyes or anyone that could hear him scream in horror. So he didn't stop, and neither did she, and he couldn't lose her, no matter how hard he tried. No amount of Kage Bunshin could get her to divert her attention as she would kill them as fast as he could make them. They would only buy him half a second at the most, and she would be right back on him. At this point he was legitimately impressed, and afraid for his life, but hadn't looked over his shoulder in over 10 minutes because she would still be there. Stop chasing me damn it. We're running out of Seirei here, Naruto shouted as the massive gates separating the Seirei from the Rukongai drew closer and closer. What the hell are you going to say when we rip up half of the Rukongai running all over the place? The Ryoka was getting out of hand and I had to stop him. Soy Fan answered just the way she would if the issue were to be brought before Yamamoto. It's my word against yours and I have tenure to say the least. You can't keep this up all day Uzumaki. Naruto rolled his eyes and formed another Kage Bunshin to take a hit for him as Soy Fan had drawn too close once again. Are you kidding me? Did I drop you on your head when we fought or did you really forget? I'm fucking Uzumaki Naruto. At the rate this is draining chakra I'm getting back more than I'm losing over time. Soy Fan smirked as she continued to chase Naruto down. It's not like I'm losing that much energy either Uzumaki. Eventually you'll slip up and I'll be right there. Soy Fan's speed with Shunpo consisted of covering the most amount of space with the least amount of steps. And she was the best at it besides Yoruichi. Naruto's speed was based on him using his Kekkei Genkai that blended lightning for sheer speed, wind for lessening his weight to move fast enough to at times leave afterimages, and Yang Chakra to reinforce his entire body so that he didn't damage parts of it like his eyes, and so that he could use them to see while moving so fast, to move his legs as fast as possible and haul ass. It was perfect for someone with his stamina and regenerative capabilities, otherwise moving his legs that fast could be dangerous. Jidenbu opened the gate. Naruto shouted frantically as he knew they were cutting it close here. For the love of Kami, open the damn gate or I am going to die. He opened his sage code to reveal a butterfly mark on his chest. She already tagged me once damn it. The giant man with fantastic hearing had come to like the borderline maniacal blonde after he stopped his rogue fellow gate guardians, And he really didn't want to see if the notorious captain of the 2nd Division would actually go through with it and kill him. Don't stop running, Naruto. I'm on it. The man lifted the large door just in time for the two to rush under his feet and exit the Seirei. Free volume just for you, big man. Everyone I owe favors to gets one. Naruto's voice echoed as he and Soifan tore through the streets, leaving the civilian soul denizens of the town in their wake. Jidenbu grinned to himself and lowered the gate. I hope it's the new sequel he hasn't published yet. I already have the first one. XXX. Shiba clan home. Yoruichi and Kuikaku sat in her main room simply drinking sake and lazing around. The Shiba clan head let out a sigh as she leaned back on the multiple pillows on the floor. It's been a while since we've been able to spend time like this, Yoruichi. It's nice to have you out of that cat form of yours. Hey. Yoruichi pointed her saucer at Kuikaku in false offense. I happen to like my cat form. It's almost as cute as the real me is, don't you think so? You cannot enter the premises without permission. Leave now. One of Kuikaku's massive bodyguards shouted from outside, alerting the two women inside. Get the fuck out of my way or I'll use your skull to bust the door down. A loud crash was heard before the sound of bodies falling down the stairs. Both Yoruichi and Kuikaku got up and looked outside the room to see Naruto standing on the two unconscious bodies of the two men at the foot of the stairs. Naruto jumped off and kicked one of them multiple times in irritation. Naruto? Yoruichi said, getting the man's attention, and stopping him from repeatedly kicking the downed servants of the clan. What the hell are you doing here? Kuikaku looked at Naruto's feet and shrugged. At least he took his shoes off before he drop-kicked my servants down the stairs. Naruto looked at Yoruichi and almost broke down in tears at the sight of her. Oh, you beautiful, beautiful, gracious, magnanimous woman. I'm so glad I wasn't wrong about you being here because this is a dead end. Why were you so hard to find? He immediately flew to her feet and wrapped himself around her legs, hugging them tightly. I thought I was dead like 8 times back there. She just kept coming. But when she stopped to fight me, all of the people around realized who I was and ran over to get my autograph. Greatest human shields ever. Yoruichi cocked an eyebrow with an amused look on her face while Kuikaku was trying and failing to hold back her laughter at seeing the mighty warrior reduced to a blubbering heap. Alright, calm down, Naruto, and tell me what's wrong. Who's chasing you? I don't know why you took refuge in this strange house Uzumaki, and I don't care. But your Riryoku is so panicked and wild right now I could find you halfway around the Soul Society. Naruto's head almost snapped a full 180 at the sound of the voice, and he immediately jumped up and ran inside the room Kuikaku and Yoruichi had been in. Soifan came downstairs with her shikai on her arm, looking around for Naruto before noticing who was there. Yoruichi-sama? Yoruichi had a sly smile on her face and pointed off to the side where Naruto had dove into to hide. He's in there. There's no way out from that room. Yoruichi-chan. Yoruichi laughed a bit. You should know better than to poke at a bee, Naruto. Least of all my little bee. She's got one hell of a sting. I noticed. Now for the love of Kami, call her off. Seriously, if I have to fight in here, we're going to tear this place apart. Oh hell no. Kuikaku shouted, grabbing Soifan before she could walk into the room and try to kick Naruto's ass. You're not messing up the house I put so much effort in setting up. Do you know how long it took to set this entire house to go with this theme? Take it outside. Naruto walked out of the room now that it was reasonably safe. I'm not going out there anytime soon. Not while Soifan's still pissed and has her love mark on me. He looked at the mark on his chest and narrowed his eyes at the woman in question. You know, you can turn this thing off anytime you want to. I know, she replied, the cheekiness of her tone hidden by the basic delivery of the words. Kuikaku threw her hands in the air in exasperation. Fine, if no one's leaving, I'm going to get back to what I was doing before this. Getting drunk, she said as she walked back into the room. Oi, right here. Let me get some of that. Naruto said as he followed her inside. Maybe if I get drunk I'll forget about my impending doom. Yoruichi shrugged and walked inside as well, dragging Soifan with her. Come on Soifan, It's been a while since we could sit and talk like this. You should actually thank Naruto for whatever it is he did. She smirked at her. You'd still be in that office of yours right now if he hadn't. Yoruichi, get in here. This baby-faced punk says he can take me down in a drinking contest. We need a judge. Ha. I've hung out with alcoholics of all shapes and sizes for years. I'm untouchable. XXX. The next day, Naruto awoke, unable to move, laying on the floor of Kuokaku's audience room with only one thing to say, in the quietest voice ever, greatest wake up ever. Naruto's right arm was being used as a pillow, instead of all the actual pillows nearby, by Kuokaku, and he found his arm deposited between a rather soft and abundant area on the woman's chest. His left arm was likewise being used as such by Yoruichi, who was further up on his shoulder towards his face, so much so that he could feel her breath tickling his ear. And then there was Soifan, who was using a combination of his legs and Yoruichi's legs to lay her head on. She was a very light girl. I'm glad you think so, Yoruichi said, opening her eyes slowly with a grin that started spreading across her face. She let out a yawn and laid her head back on his shoulder as she looked at him tiredly. I was looking for you yesterday to tell you that Yamamoto Sotaichu wanted a meeting with you today. Naruto narrowed his eyes at her. Yamamoto Gigi wants to see me today? Why? Yoruichi shut her eyes. I don't know. You should show up though. Of course I am, Naruto said before his eyes widened at what his clone from yesterday had given him when it dispelled in his sleep. Damn, Soifan, and I need to wake up now. That thing that Yamamoto Gigi wants to see me for. She's supposed to be there too with all of the other captains. Please don't tell me we slept until noon. That's when the meeting was supposed to be. Letting out a sound of disappointment at having to move, Yoruichi let go of Naruto's arm and slowly removed herself from Soifan's grasp, walking into Kuokaku's bedroom to check the time before returning. It's 9:34. You've got over 2 hours. Great, Naruto said, comfortable that he would have time to get himself together and make it back with time to spare. Now can you help me get these women off of me? He frowned visibly after saying that. I should never have to repeat that sentence ever again. Yoruichi giggled and helped him slowly start prying Kuokaku off of his arm, laughing quietly as she looked down at Soifan. She's still a lightweight, I see. She didn't even have much. Naruto smiled as he pulled Soifan off of his legs. Don't make fun of Soifan. We all can't be alcoholic juggernauts like me. Like her, do you? Yoruichi grinned at him as she helped him stand up and watch him shake his legs out to get blood flow back into them. Well, yeah, Naruto said, stretching himself out lightly, despite it being completely terrifying when she was chasing me yesterday. I'm more than a little convinced that it was just her playing. She wouldn't have killed me if she had caught me. He looked down at the still sleeping captain, right? I mean, as far as I could see, we were playing like that all day long. Yoruichi pointed at his chest. Well, the mark is gone, so I would say she wasn't really mad at you, not like after your fight. She gestured for him to leave. Now get going towards the Seirei. I'll wake up Soifan and send her right after you. Naruto threw his sage coat on and saluted her before leaving the house altogether. XXX. 2 hours later, 1st Division Headquarters. With the pace Naruto had cut in returning to the Seirei, it hadn't taken long for an awakened and freshened up Soifan to catch him, apparently not suffering any hangover effects or saddled with any memories of how she had slept the previous night. And thusly, the two fell into step on their way to the Captain Commander himself. So do you even know what this is about? The order that the clone playing you was given was really vague, Naruto asked her. No idea, Uzumaki. Soifan replied. Just don't make yourself look foolish in there. Every captain will be there, and whatever it is you're going to be there for, you're going to want to seem somewhat dignified. Naruto gave her a strange look. What about that guy with the eye patch and spiky belled hair? Well, or what about the weird guy with the pasty clown face and weird headgear? That's dignified. I'm not. Naruto kept cutting her off as they walked through the halls, and if you think for 1 second I'm going to go walking around acting like Byakuya, you might as well forget about it. I'll strike a happy medium. Soifan let out an exasperated sigh. I would kick you in the head. but we don't have time for this today. Naruto smirked. Whatever, you would need a ladder to reach anyway. Or maybe I could get down on one knee to help you. Before she could retaliate, he pointed at an open pair of double doors that represented the captain's assembly hall, saving himself from her wrath, for now anyway. As the two entered, Soi Fan fell in line with the other captains who stood in two even lines as Naruto stood at the opposite end of them, facing Yamamoto, who soon began to speak. Uzumaki Naruto. First of all, I would like to thank you for cleaning the 1st Division headquarters after all of the unpleasantness was over with. He opened with a little joke that got a grin out of Naruto and a few captains. Naruto rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. No problem. After all, my clones were the ones who did it. And they were the ones that cleaned it. The sight of 50 Narutos cleaning the building brought some cheer to the rather gloomy atmosphere after Aizen's betrayal. Sorry about that. They're a little wild without being given orders. The old captain cleared his throat. Well, I have some questions to ask you, and I'm fairly certain that the others here do as well. So I'll be opening the floor for them to do so before I ask my own. Naruto nodded his agreement to the proceedings and pointed at the rather interested-looking man with the almost skeletal visage. It was actually the same man that Naruto had been referring to earlier. Kuratsuchi Mayuri, captain of the 12th Division and president of the Shinigami Research Institute, he said, introducing himself to Naruto before getting down to business with his question. For a human, you have a very strange balance in your Riryoku, among many other irregularities that normally go with your race. That is something I would like to examine at some point during your stay in the Seirei. Naruto seemed to miss the combination of the gleam in his eyes and the fact that he really didn't ask him if he could examine him. He just said he was going to. Yeah, sure. Just find me if you need me later. Me or one of my clones should be flying all over the place for another week at least. With his only real concern for showing up sated, the scientist captain stood back and allowed for another to ask a question. This time a rather large man with an eye patch and bells in his spiked hair. Are you any stronger than Ichigo? Naruto shrugged. Well, yeah. He saw an evil grin form on the man's face and wound up putting some past information together at just that moment. You're Zaraki Kenpachi, aren't you? The man nodded, never taking his eyes off of Naruto. Shit. Are there any other questions? Yamamoto asked the captains, getting no response. Well, Uzumaki-san, I have a few questions for you myself. I am aware of the age of Kurosaki Ichigo and his friends, but your own is a mystery to me. How old are you? Naruto scratched his head and thought hard. I'm not sure. I'm around 200 years older than the current calendar system, but I stopped counting until that system fell into use because it was useless to know, so I don't really know. Am I older than you? Yamamoto actually laughed at this. No, I'm still older than you. You're as old as my two pupils, though, it seems. And you still look so young. Naruto frowned. That's because this age was the age I was at when all of the things that wound up making me immortal fell into place. It's kind of cool though, he said with a grin. I'm apparently right at the age that separates kids from adults in this era, so I can walk both sides of the line. In my time I was just an adult, so I didn't get any privileges as a kid, ever really. He looked over at a small captain with spiky white hair. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? He got a simple roll of the eyes from the child-looking captain. Teasing Hitsugaya Taiko aside, Uzumaki-san. Yamamoto interjected, getting the meeting back on track. What certain elements combined to make you immortal? Naruto sighed. My family had a natural life force that far exceeded any other. I have the hereditary eyes of the man that had been perceived as a god by many in my time, the Rinnegan. I have a perfect synchronization with nature in the living world that keeps me healthy and my body strong. And here's the kicker. I have the most powerful entity in the history of the world trapped in my body for as long as I live. A creature known as the Jubi. Yamamoto's eyes opened slightly wider. How powerful is this creature? And how are you keeping it at bay? Naruto lifted his shirt and channeled chakra to his belly. This is just the spiritual embodiment of it. Its physical and spiritual energy, or as I would call it, chakra. An elaborate seal marking on Naruto's belly appeared and spread all along his torso. This keeps the power at bay. The physical body is trapped in the moon orbiting the earth. He heard a snicker or two. Fine, don't believe me, I don't care. I don't even want to tell any of you this. Yukitake looked at Naruto in confusion. Then why are you doing so now? Naruto turned to him and lowered his shirt, because now you guys know who I am and are going to try and keep tabs on me in the world of the living. You would have found out eventually, and this way at least I can explain things or answer questions you have before you start jumping to conclusions and order my extermination or something. He crossed his arms. I have a very good track record of destroying those that try destroying me. Komamura stepped forward and moved in front of Yamamoto as he perceived Naruto's words as a threat. What are you saying? What do you want with the Seirei and the Soul Society? Naruto looked at the wolf-headed Shinigami with no alarm or fear. He had seen far stranger things. I just want to keep existing. There are too many things I have to do for the living world for me to simply die or cow to the will of another. The reason he had told them this much was because there were still things about the Jubi's power that he had been keeping to himself. Things no one but him needed to know, at least for now, because at least one of his secrets would cause a panic. Yamamoto stroked his long beard. I have a proposition for you, Uzumaki. He saw Naruto's eyes lock with him and could tell he had his attention. We plan on giving Kurosaki Ichigo a position as an official substitute Shinigami. However, we have another proposition for you. Naruto's face remained stern as the old man continued. How would you like to form a frontier division in the world of the living? Frontier division? Naruto questioned rather suspiciously. I don't want to take orders or work for anyone. I'm not going to be anyone's weapon to just point, shoot, and let annihilate. Nothing of the sort. Yamamoto said in an effort to clear things up. I'm just saying that much of this current trouble with Aizen could have been avoided if the Soul Society had more eyes abound. There needs to be a group with no real standing orders, a group that can handle issues that spring up or call for assistance in case it becomes necessary. An ally in the middle of the world of the living. Imagine if Kuchiki Rukia would have had a potential safe area she could have gone to once everything had gone awry during her stay. Naruto opened his mouth to answer when Yamamoto spoke again. Of course, I have no authority to authorize such a thing. Naruto almost fell out in the floor. Well then, why are you telling me this if you can't even put it together? Because, Yamamoto said. Both of his eyes locked on Naruto in a firm glance. While the only power I have to take note of is the Central 46, we still need to replace the Central 46. Which means that until then I take over their normal duties. I now only answer to the Spirit King himself, and if the issue arises I am sure that I can provide many valid reasons to let this happen. He may be particularly interested in you with your lifespan, Uzumaki-san, among other things. Naruto blinked in confusion. Now how does a 10-year trial period sound? Naruto thought for a moment. 10 years were nothing to him, and if he didn't like it he could just back out then. Okay. Here are some rules. Rule 1. I don't take orders, from you, from anyone. Komamura bristled and moved to berate Naruto, but Yamamoto cut him off, allowing him to continue. I will work with you. I will listen to things you have to say and we'll have a mutually beneficial relationship, but I don't work for you. Rule 2. I pick the people on this division. You want me to head up. I won't be accepting your castaways or exiles or prisoners or whatever. Why do you want me to do it anyway? Yamamoto returned to his kindly-looking old man appearance. You're not going anywhere for a long time. True, Naruto admitted before continuing. Rule 3, or should I say Condition 3. You're going to tell me where that Aizen guy is. Yoruichi-chan told me he was in the Hollow Plane Hueco Mundo. But I mean when you pinpoint his location. I want to know. Yamamoto tapped his cane on the ground lightly. We were going to tell you anyway. You would be an invaluable ally in the coming conflict with him. Naruto nodded in satisfaction. Rule number 4. I don't really have a rule for that yet. Get back to me. But am I going to get paid for this? Yamamoto nodded and the ninja in Naruto was fully sated with the terms thus far. Then I guess for now anyway we have a deal, Yamamoto Gigi. Naruto said with a grin. But in the back of his head he felt a nagging feeling that he still had absolutely no idea what he had gotten himself into. Yamamoto let out a short chortle. It seems that we do, brat. He secretly enjoyed the scowl that crossed Naruto's face at being called a brat. XXX. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. Age. I thought we went through this already, I don't know. Hometown. Anywhere I damn well please, or for right now at least, Karakura town, I think. Likes. Ramen. Every Shinigami female I've seen thus far because they're all super cute. Finding out exactly what the hell makes the world beyond ours tick. The buzz I get from activating Sage Mode in the Soul Society. Picking on Ichigo and his friends, and everyone I can get away with it on. Saying, "Who's your daddy?" to certain people around the Soul Society because I'm older than them. The cute look on Soy Fawn's face when I piss her off. The sexy smirk Yoruichi-chan gives me when she has a secret. Dislikes. I still hate waiting on ramen to cook. I still hate fresh raw vegetables. I still hate everything that I listed the last time, but spirits are slowly getting off of that list of mine. Some of them in particular more than others. I'm starting to hate Yoruichi-chan's sexy smirk that she gives me whenever she has a secret, because her secrets are usually unpleasant. And I also hate old men that are still legitimately older than me calling me brat. My name is Uzumaki Naruto and I still have no idea what the hell is going on. I know enough to smile and nod and go somewhere else to figure things out on my own or yell and bitch about it, but I've never been so grateful to be immortal as I have right now, because I think it's going to take at least a full lifetime for me to figure all of this stuff out about the world of spirits, and most of that knowledge is probably going to hurt me to learn. Oh well, a sage is supposed to be a wise man, a man of the world at one with all of nature and existence. I bet I'm further along on that than any other so-called sage before me. I might not ever be as famous as the Rakudu Sennin of my time, but I'll damn sure have a tighter relationship with the afterlife, believe it. God damn it. I swear to Kami I am going to fix that no matter how many years it takes. This it for today guys, this was the part 3 of What If Naruto Was Immortal Naruto X Bleach. Stay tuned for more.